What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. Chapter 116, The Depressed Atmosphere Advertisement. This sentence warmed the hearts of everyone in the car. At the critical moment, the seemingly indifferent teacher would still stand up to protect them. It's just a pity that the news media don't care about your mood, they only care about the news. Teacher Xiangying is going to hurt someone. Mr. Xiangying wants to hurt people, but the police will not care. In this society, there are always some scum who are not afraid of death. The scene became chaotic in an instant, and Aizawa Shota felt a little helpless when he saw the reporters writing hard below. Tomorrow's headlines will probably be about their own scandals. But no matter what happened, he didn't care too much about the reporters' remarks. After entering the school, Aizawa Shota instructed everyone and then disbanded on his own. Everyone went to their respective classrooms and rested quietly. At the same time, Aizawa Shota also ran non-stop towards the upper floors of the teaching building. The corridor was extremely empty, and in front of him there was only a door with the word, conference room, written on it. Aizawa Shota took a deep breath and slowly opened the door of the room. The conference table in the room was already full of people. From left to right, almost the entire related to heroes came here. Aizawa, are you back? The principal said softly, standing by the window, looking at the crowd of reporters downstairs. The whole room was extremely depressed, and everyone's faces were not very good looking. Even All Might, who was famous for his smile, was now looking ashen. Let's locate Uchiha Madara first, and if he is leaving school, let me know Aizawa as soon as possible. All Might stood up and opened his mouth to the hero, present. It's still the same, first calm the crowd and the audience. Present. Mike, like All Might, lost a smile on his face. Hearing this, Aizawa Shota nodded slightly, then came to the vacant seat and sat down, looking at the people in front of him. Various requests, the whole room was quite quiet, and everyone was waiting for the headmaster to give orders. And this college crisis has pushed Xiangying to the forefront. Advertisement. The principal looked at the people at the table, started from the left, swept a circle, and ordered, this time, obey the police's arrangement and carry out a rescue operation for Yaoyorozu Momo. All Might and Aizawa will go to appease Yaoyorozu Momo's family. The principal silently closed the curtains around him, looked at everyone and sighed helplessly, sat on the chair and rubbed his nose, then slowly said, this time I used quirks again. I hope the police won't cause too much trouble. 5. I am solely responsible for this matter. Aizawa Shota stood up with a solemn expression. No, I'll be responsible too, after all, I'm also their teacher. All Might hurriedly stood up and echoed. After hearing this, the principal smiled helplessly and shook his head. We Xiangying are family. If there is any problem, we can take responsibility together. Okay, let's communicate with the police first, and I will solve the problem with the media. The whole room fell silent in an instant, and the principal could only smile bitterly without speaking, and then slowly left the conference room. All of them understand that if Hero S cannot resist this time, he will not only face the masses, but also Hero S prestige among the people. In this case, League of Villains is easy to wait for the opportunity to cause confusion. The Yaoyorozu Momo thing is just an introduction, no one can guess what League of Villains is thinking. The primary goal now is to settle the students and their parents well. The next morning, Uchiha Madara opened her eyes, just sat up from the bed, turned on the computer, and watched the news scrolling on it. Shocked. Heroes were attacked again. 35. Is the Hero S Academy really safe? Where exactly are the professional Hero S? Various negative news about Xiangying paved the entire page. However, Uchiha Madara doesn't care about these issues at all, he just wants to find out where the so-called ruins are. But no matter how he looked, he couldn't find any relevant news. Sure enough, I have to look for it. Uchiha Madara slowly got up and walked out of the room. Various requests, however, he just went out when he saw the group of reporters in front of him. At the same time, the phone in Uchiha Madara's pocket vibrated. He answered the phone, and Aizawa Shota's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. Where are you now? I'm going out for a walk. Uchiha Madara responded indifferently, frowning at the same time. Advertisement. Why did Aizawa Shota's call come as soon as he stepped out of the door? Is it possible? Is he spying on himself? Student Uchiha, please focus on the overall situation, please. Aizawa Shota was also a little worried. If Uchiha Madara went out and did something, it would be really troublesome. I have my own way. After that, Uchiha Madara hung up the phone, raised his head, glanced at the camera in the corner, and frowned slightly. After the last sports festival, almost everyone got to know the new hero, not to mention the most dazzling self. And now, Xiangying Academy is on the cusp. As long as it is caught by reporters, it may cause serious trouble. A stern look flashed across Uchiha Madara's eyes, and with a slight shake of his right hand, a kunai threw out and shattered the camera. On the other side, in a dimly lit bar, Kurogiri wiped the glass in his hand quietly, and everyone around was busy with their own business. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Tamura Shigaraki, who was sitting at the front desk of the bar, suddenly burst into laughter, startling everyone. Tamura Shigaraki turned to look at Yaoyorozu Momo, who was tied up with 5 flowers in the corner, and a sneer crossed the corner of his mouth. Uchiha Madara, are you trying to save your classmates or the academy? 35. Hearing this, Yaoyorozu Momo struggled for a while, but after getting nowhere, he could only stare at the dead handle tree angrily. Wangda's Shijamu got up slowly, turned on the TV in front of him, watched the news about Xiangying Academy playing on it, and laughed a little convulsively. Downtown, library. Uchiha Madara flipped through the city's land records, looking for clues about the League of Villains, but with little success. Madara classmate? At this moment, a delicate voice came from the direction of the bookshelf. Uchiha Madara was slightly startled, closed the document in his hand, looked at Uraraka Ochako, who was calling for him, and asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" "We are going to the hospital with the recovery girl to see our classmates. Do you want to come?" Uraraka Ochako smiled reluctantly. After all, the classmates were injured and it was difficult for anyone. Uchiha Madara was stunned for a moment, and after a brief pause, he smiled. "Okay, let's go together." "Well, we'll gather at the school gate, and I'll go and talk to Aizawa-sensei." 35. Chapter 117. Police charges advertisement at the school gate. Aizawa Shota and All Might stood side by side in front of a bus with serious faces. Everyone came to the school gate one by one, and then got on the bus in an orderly manner. When everyone got into the car and only Uchiha Madara was left, All Might stepped forward and blocked in front of him. "Young Madara, please believe me. Although there are only a few words, All Might is loud and serious. And, Uchiha Madara also knows the meaning of All Might's words. He just didn't want to cause trouble for himself." Once or twice, Uchiha Madara thought it was acceptable, but this repeated emphasis made even Uchiha Madara feel a little unhappy. "I said, I have my own measure." The bus slowly drove forward, and soon arrived at the gate of the hospital. However, just after entering the hospital, a policeman who was about 40 years old walked towards the crowd. After sweeping around, he fixed his eyes on Uchiha Madara. "Are you Uchiha Madara?" "Yes. Please come with us, we want to ask something." The policeman looked at the crowd and said cautiously. 610. What's the matter? 33 Uchiha Madara feels that she has been really unhappy these past few days, and she can find anything wrong. "I really want to tear down the police station, it's about the Moonfish." Hearing this, Uchiha Madara frowned and said to the people behind him without turning his head, "You go first, I'll be there in a while." Everyone was a little worried after hearing this, but they could only nod their heads. "Let's go see Tokiyami and Bakugo first, they are relatively close." Uraraka Ochako pointed to the ward list on the floor. Kindness, advertisement. Yes, 35, various requests. After watching everyone leave, Uchiha Madara followed the police and walked towards the elevator. The hospital has obviously strengthened its vigilance. At every point, there are police patrols, and the security work can be described as tight. Finally, after walking for a while, Uchiha Madara and the policeman stopped at the door of a room. "Shodo Todoroki?" Uchiha Madara whispered, looking at the name on the door. Speaking of which, AFDG, Shodo Todoroki was also an eyewitness when he killed the Moonfish. It seems, it is necessary to make a good plan. If Shodo Todoroki really betrayed himself, then he can only be enemies with heroes and even society as a whole. Or, just take the entire police station under control. For Yaoyorozu Momo, he didn't want to turn against him so early. Uchiha Madara took a deep breath and slowly opened the door. At this moment, Shodo Todoroki was not alone in the room, and beside him was an older policeman. "Hello, I'm from the Criminal Investigation Department. I'm here this time to learn about the Moonfish, a prisoner on death row." Seeing the arrival of Uchiha Madara, the older policeman stood up and said with a serious face. "In order to save time, the two of you can record the statement together." After saying that, the policeman sat back on the chair, and at the same time pointed to the chair above, motioning for Uchiha Madara to sit down. Uchiha Madara sat beside Shodo Todoroki's bed, squinted and glanced at Shodo Todoroki. Shodo Todoroki glanced at him, but did not speak. "Okay, I ask a question, and you answer, it is good." The two responded. The policeman pushed his hat, picked up the pen in his hand, opened a notebook to prepare a record, and asked, "May I ask if the two are at the scene?" "Yes." Shodo Todoroki nodded and responded indifferently. Uchiha Madara glanced at him and nodded. Advertisement. "Excuse me, have you witnessed the death of the Moonfish? Can you repeat it?" the two policemen asked, solemnly. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara and Shodo Todoroki looked at each other, and after a brief silence, Shodo Todoroki took the lead and said, "Let me tell you, Uchiha is here to save me, he doesn't know much about what happened before." "Okay." The policeman nodded. Uchiha Madara stared blankly at Shodo Todoroki, intervening if something was wrong. "Various requests, it's like this, we were intercepted by the Moonfish at the beginning." Shodo Todoroki began to briefly describe the detailed process of the three of them fleeing and counter-attacking, and then chasing after themselves. Meaning, not only the Moonfish was present at the time, but also a villain called the Fraudster. "Uchiha Madara came to help you?" The police asked softly, his eyes were full of surprise, and he was also curious about how the two survived in the face of two professional-level heroes. Shodo Todoroki nodded, indicating that there was nothing wrong with what the police said. Uchiha Madara's eyes slowly cooled down, and he knew that everything below was the point. It all depends on whether Shodo Todoroki is telling the truth, or helping himself to hide, and whether he is interfering. "It's a bit cold, this room," the policeman said casually. He still hadn't noticed the aura emanating from Uchiha Madara. The atmosphere in the whole room gradually became depressed. At this moment, Shodo Todoroki suddenly said, "But they had an affair." Shodo Todoroki looked at the police indifferently and spoke softly. Internal coaxing. "What's the matter?" The policeman's expression changed instantly, and his mouth could even squeeze an apple. The Moonfish went crazy and attacked the cheater, cutting off his hands and legs. "This person must be insane." Shodo Todoroki responded, and his indifferent expression made it difficult to see whether he was telling the truth or not. "Lie." Uchiha Madara frowned slightly and glanced at Shoto Todoroki somewhat unexpectedly. However, in the blood of the Moonfish, we collected Uchiha's DNA. Speaking of which, the police turned their attention to Uchiha Madara. Student Uchiha, please explain, what the hell is going on? The policeman held the record book, looked at Uchiha Madara, and asked softly. Do you think we can seriously injure a criminal who can't even handle a professional hero? Shoto Todoroki asked rhetorically before Uchiha Madara spoke. Hearing this, the police fell silent. Shoto Todoroki is right, but Uchiha Madara's performance at the sports festival is obvious to all. Uchiha Madara's strength is very strong, even to the point of crushing students. Chapter 118. Unexpected results advertisement. Thinking about it this way, it's really unrealistic. It's hard for high school students to defeat criminals who are difficult for professional heroes to deal with. Shoto Todoroki did not speak, but leaned on the hospital bed quietly and glanced at Uchiha Madara beside him. He has done all he can, and what to do with the rest is up to Uchiha Madara himself. Uchiha Madara nodded to Shoto Todoroki without leaving a trace, then turned his eyes to the policeman. When I arrived at the scene, Yaoyorozu and Bakugo had already been arrested. We know that. The policeman nodded, then gestured for Uchiha Madara to continue. I was caught by the Moonfish, and then the two sides fought, and I was tied to the side, just watching the fight. Uchiha Madara said. His expression gradually became painful, and the acting was more real than anyone else, making the police feel pity for him. The DNA on the Moonfish should have come from that time. After listening to Uchiha Madara's account, the police nodded, looked at the records in their hands, and analyzed them in their hearts. There is also the DNA of the fraudster on the toothblade. It seems that our analysis is correct. The policeman pondered in the bottom of his heart. Excuse me, how did Moonfish die? The policeman looked at the two and asked softly. Killed by the deceiver, and then Kurogiri took the deceiver. Shoto Todoroki said. Kurogiri took the cheater, but not the body of the Moonfish. Uchiha Madara leaned back on the chair and said. Okay, I probably understand. The policeman nodded, then I won't disturb your rest. 9. Various requests. The police quickly left the Shoto Todoroki ward, leaving only Uchiha Madara and Shoto Todoroki at the scene. In the ward, Shoto Todoroki was silent for a long time, and suddenly said, Is this all right? Well, thank you. Uchiha Madara nodded towards Shoto Todoroki. The matter is now a complete departure. Just as Uchiha Madara was about to leave the room, Shoto Todoroki, who was lying on the hospital bed, suddenly said, If I remember correctly, League of Villains left you a note, 99. Uchiha Madara was slightly taken aback when he heard this, turned his head to look at Shoto Todoroki with a focused face on the bed, and nodded. Can you tell me the content? I won't reveal it, but I can help you. Shoto Todoroki looked out the window, pretending to be casual. Why? Uchiha Madara was a little puzzled, not sure why he was helping himself. You saved me, and I don't want to owe any favors, Shoto Todoroki responded indifferently. Advertisement. Looking at Shoto Todoroki's shy and embarrassed look, Uchiha Madara couldn't help but feel a little funny. Tamura Shigaraki asked me to meet him in the ruins. But the school should ban us now. Shoto Todoroki turned his head and looked at Uchiha Madara. The atmosphere in the ward became solemn again. So what? Uchiha Madara didn't care. No one can stop me if I want to. In the case of ruins, you can check which places have been remodeled. No one lives there. There should be help for you. Uchiha Madara nodded, turned and left the room. Although he has checked all these places. After Uchiha Madara left the ward, Shoto Todoroki sighed helplessly and lay on the bed quietly. After waiting for a while, a middle-aged man walked in. Shoto Todoroki saw him enter the room and didn't pay any attention, just glanced at him and closed his eyes. The person who came was his father, the second-ranked professional hero, Endeavor. How can you still be hurt? Endeavor stared at Shoto Todoroki grimly. The power gap, Shoto Todoroki responded indifferently. Endeavor looked at the medical records beside the bed and said coldly, Then improve your strength, I have something to do with you. 39. What's the matter? If others see it, they will definitely feel that the two sides are not talking between father and son, but more like two strangers, one question and one answer. Regarding your experience at the scene, Xiangying and the police called us to save your classmates. Endeavor put down the case and glanced coldly at his own son lying on the bed. Say, just ask the police, don't ask me, can you leave? Shoto Todoroki rolled over and covered the quilt, and stopped talking. Endeavor looked at his back, his eyes softened for a moment. He reached out to stroke Shoto Todoroki's head, but he couldn't. Okay. Improve your strength, don't get hurt again, and embarrass me. Endeavor's eyes became cold again, and then he turned and left the room without looking back. Various requests. 0. For flowers advertisement. On the other side, Uchiha Madara walked slowly in the corridor of the hospital, looking at the cameras and the police all around. After going around twice, he probably knew something in his mind. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and he turned around and walked into the bathroom. In Xiangying's office, there are staff specially responsible for monitoring Uchiha Madara's operations. They stared at the monitoring in front of them and did not dare to relax for a moment. Huh? Did he have diarrhea? Why did it take so long? I don't know, but it's been a while. Would you like to report first? The two clerks look at me and I look at you, unable to make up their minds for a long time. Just as the two were about to get in touch with Aizawa Shota, they saw Uchiha Madara come out of the bathroom, exposed to the camera. Point zero. Seeing this, the two of them breathed a sigh of relief, put down their mobile phones, and continued their work. But neither of them noticed that a strange figure walked out of the bathroom. If Tornado and the others were here, they would have recognized at a glance that this guy was Senju Hashirama. Unfortunately, no one saw this scene. Senju Hashirama looked up at the camera with a sneer on the corner of his mouth, turned and left the hospital, walking slowly into the depths of the city. Afterwards, after Uchiha Madara and his classmates visited the crowd, they got on the bus prepared for them by the school. "Hey, Uchiha-san, the police didn't embarrass you?" Uraraka Ochako looked worried. Speaking of this, everyone turned their attention to Uchiha Madara. "Don't worry, it's fine." Uchiha Madara laughed, "It's just a routine investigation." Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Soon, the car returned to the school, and Aizawa Shota, who learned that Uchiha Madara had not left, was also relieved. He looked at All Might next to him and muttered in disbelief, "It's a surprise to me that he didn't leave." "Yeah, usually, Madara boy doesn't accept discipline at all, but I didn't expect to be so cooperative today." All Might nodded, also expressing strangeness. "Maybe, this is growing up." Aizawa Shota shook his head with a wry smile. Uchiha Madara is indeed powerful, but in society, without a hero's license, you cannot use quirks at will. Chapter 119. Finding clues advertisement. When Uchiha Madara's avatar returned home, he saw the newly installed camera at the door. He paused and didn't break it. He pushed open the door and entered the room. Aizawa Shota and the others also felt relieved, and began to communicate and negotiate with the police with all their strength to collect all relevant information. On the other side, Uchiha Madara, who had left the hospital and had changed back to his original appearance, bypassed the police's field of vision, turned and got into a dim alley, and walked away. When he came outside, he rushed to the street where he saw Tamura Shigaraki. The street was very quiet at night, and there were few pedestrians on the commercial street. He stood in the middle of the street, looking for some useful clues. "Where are the ruins?" Uchiha Madara's eyes were a little confused, and the other party left such a vague clue to himself, but he clearly marked where it was. Neither does 613 know what Tamura Shigaraki is thinking, and no one knows. He looked at the surrounding buildings, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he was quite helpless. He could only give up temporarily, wait for the arrival of the next day, and then go to watch the passing crowd during the day. Uchiha Madara came to a small alley next to this commercial street, which is full of various small hotels. At the entrance of the hotel stood a lot of beautiful women, waving to themselves. Uchiha Madara slowly lifted the hood behind him, buckled it on his head, and walked down the dim corridor with his head down. He glanced at the red light on the door, and walked in with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Entering the room, in the messy corridor, there was a strange and somewhat disgusting question. In the bar that manages the room in front of the door, an uncle who looks to be in his 50s or 60s is swaying around on a rocking chair. There are 2 empty wine bottles on the table, and the cigarette in his hand continues to be broken. Uchiha Madara opened the window that was blocked by the front desk, and a cloud of smoke spurted out instantly, and all kinds of unpleasant odors came out. Uchiha Madara frowned slightly, then said softly, "Master, stay in the room." The uncle lying on the rocking chair opened his eyes slightly and raised his eyebrows. "Various requests, hey." The uncle sighed, picked up the wine bottle in his hand, took a sip in front of his mouth, and asked casually, "How many people?" "1." Uchiha Madara frowned slightly. If it wasn't for the fear of revealing his whereabouts, he wouldn't want to come to such a place. "Advertisement. Do you have an ID card?" 9. "No, young man, if you don't have an ID card, I will charge you $50 or $10 more." The uncle sighed, took off a bunch of keys from the wall and handed it to Uchiha Madara. After taking the money from Uchiha Madara, he lay down on the rocking chair and closed his eyes, ignoring the boy in front of him. Uchiha Madara took a look at the environment inside. This kind of small hotel is not much different from the usual one. The only thing he can't accept is the mess. After opening the room, he felt this even more. There were moldy Madara spots on the walls, the quilt on the bed seemed to have not been washed, and the white quilt was faintly yellow, which made him feel disgusted. "Only one night," Uchiha Madara muttered, leaning back on the only clean-looking chair in the room, closing her eyes. This night, for many ordinary citizens, was a very quiet night. There was no loud police car sound outside, and it was extremely quiet. This was the most peaceful night in the city. There were no criminals, no riots, and it was quiet and peaceful. However, the lights of Superintendent Shu and Shongying Academy did not go out, and the room was crowded with people. Everyone's eyes were full of bloodshots, and they kept running around the room, collecting and searching for the possessions of the League of Villains. They had never worked so seriously, and it was the League of Villains who pushed them once, giving them a long-lost overtime. "No news yet?" Standing in front of the window, All Might spoke softly, looking at the crowd of reporters that still hadn't dispersed at the school gate. The superintendent who came to the room shook his head, sighed helplessly, and responded, "There is still no progress, we need more clues. You are in charge of the collection, and we heroic heroes are in charge of the battle." Endeavor snorted, glanced at Matt's back, and spoke to the superintendent in a cold voice. Not only the superintendent did not leave, but also the professional heroes, convened by the Heroic Academy. They are always ready to set off at the first time to carry out rescue activities. Now time is money, but the superintendent and Shongying still don't understand why League of Villains kidnapped Yaoyorozu Momo. Erase her head. How is the Uchiha boy now? All Might turned to look at Aizawa Shota behind him, a little worried between his eyebrows. Uchiha is still at home and hasn't left. Aizawa Shota sighed, as if relieved, and replied softly. Advertisement. The superintendent was busy up and down like ants on a hot pot, and he didn't dare to relax for a moment. Various requests, on the other side, inside the hospital. Legu sat on the hospital bed, the moonlight shone on his bandaged hands, and he looked at the night sky outside the window with a thoughtful look. The night slowly passed, and the next morning finally came. Uchiha Madara slowly opened his eyes, stood up silently, and walked out. When I came to the front desk, the old man in charge of the night shift had already woken up early and was cleaning up the mess he made last night with a broom. "Young man, just put the key here." The old man looked at Uchiha Madara in front of him, pointed to the clean table, and said with a smile. Uchiha Madara nodded, walked silently to the table, and looked at it casually. Suddenly, he was attracted by a picture on the table. Under the rubber table, there was a photo of a young girl and an old man. Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank, and she froze in place. The clues he was looking for hard, but he didn't expect to encounter one of them inadvertently. "Ah, what's the matter, old man?" Uchiha Madara was slightly startled, then came back to his senses and smiled. "Kaido. It's a little vague, but it's better than a random search without a clue. And these two people are Tamura Shigaraki and the girl Uchiha Madara met in the forest before, Hamiko Toga." The old man looked at the dazed appearance of this handsome young man, laughed and said, "This is my granddaughter, isn't she beautiful? There are many young men chasing her." "Of course, it's just the girl in the photo that can't attract Uchiha Madara's attention at all, it's more of the passing crowd behind the photo." In the photo, at the intersection of a street, a sweet 3.6 beautiful girl is holding the hand of the old man, revealing a row of white fang. Young man. The old man narrowed his eyes, looked at the sluggish Uchiha Madara, and shouted softly. On the left side of the photo, next to an intersection, a hooded boy with scars on his face, followed by a girl in a navy uniform, doesn't know where to go. Chapter 120. The Tranquility Before the Storm advertisement. "Would you like me to introduce you? My granddaughter is studying at Jess High School, and she will be hero S in the future," the old man said triumphantly, holding the photo in his hand and loving it. Seeing that the old man completely misunderstood what he meant, Uchiha Madara responded with a smile. "No need, thank you for your kindness. By the way, old man, where did you take this photo?" Uchiha Madara hurriedly looked for the point that he cared about, and his eyes were full of anxiety. "Well, just here, walk 3 intersections over there." The old man was slightly taken aback, pointed his finger in one direction of the alley, and responded. "Thank you." The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth twitched slightly when he heard it, and he turned and left the hotel. As soon as he went out, Uchiha Madara buckled his hood, and passers-by could feel the icy aura from Uchiha Madara's body. As a result, the pedestrians scattered one after another to make way for him. 3 intersections, there's Yaoyorozu Momo and Uchiha Madara not far from the door. Unexpectedly, the place he was looking for was actually right under his eyes. "Tamura Shigaraki, this time you are courting death yourself," Uchiha Madara said in a low voice, the killing intent in his eyes getting stronger and stronger. In fact, Uchiha Madara has not yet thought about whether to take the League of Villains, but the current situation forces him to advance his plans. Now that the target area has been locked, the rest, just find the exact location of their hiding place. "Hey." Uchiha Madara seemed to have seen the appearance of the League of Villains lying all over the place, snorted coldly, then silently disappeared into the crowd and disappeared into the street without a trace. In a dark bar, Tamura Shigaraki sat on a chair, shivered uncomfortably, then turned his head and glanced in the direction of the door of the room. Standing in front of the bar, Kurogiri asked softly, "What's wrong?" "It's nothing, I just feel a little uneasy." Tamura Shigaraki sneered, he didn't know how long he hadn't felt this flustered. "Don't worry, after a while, it will be the end of the heroic hero." A dull and somewhat mechanically blind voice came from the shadows. A burly man in a black suit and a strange mask came out of the dark, reached out and patted Tamura Shigaraki on the shoulder, comforting. "Advertisement. Well, I know, teacher." 35 Tamura Shigaraki nodded, sat on the chair, looked at Yaoyorozu Momo tied with 5 flowers in the corner, calmed down, and then fiddled with a sculpture in his hand. Various requests, at the same time, the conference room of Shongying Academy. At this moment, the room was crowded with various professional hero S, and they all graduated from hero S. A policeman walked to the conference table, pulled out a whiteboard, and spoke to the crowd with a solemn expression. "After an overnight investigation, we have found 4 hiding places of the League of Villains. They are located in." After waiting for the superintendent to finish explaining all the information, he took a deep breath and looked at the various professional hero S in the room with a dignified expression. "The question now is, which one of the 4 locations is where the League of Villains personnel are located?" After saying these words, the whole room was extremely depressed. If the power distribution is a bit flawed, the weaker team, meaning Tamura Shigaraki and the others, is likely to be wiped out. Moreover, the dimensions of the 4 locations are extremely large, and it is impossible to go to the rescue at the first time. No one is willing to take this risk. After all, the opponent is the League of Villains who has been competing with Shongying for a long time. As long as one is not careful, he may be buried in the battlefield. "I'll go here with the teacher. How about the others?" All Might pointed to a coordinate on the map and preached, and at the same time, a short old man with a walking stick walked out beside him. This person is the head teacher of All Might when he was in school, Gran Torino, who is also a former superhero S, and his strength is very strong. The second Endeavor looked slightly unhappy. After all, he had been competing with All Might. Endeavor pointed to a point on the map, turned to look at Mount Lady and the others. "I'll take them here." 95. The remaining hero S, who were at the top of the rankings, formed their own teams and moved to several other positions. In general, the overall strength is almost divided very reasonably. If the dead handle is not with us, we will solve it first, and then go to help you. All Might slowly got up, looked at the coordinates on the map, and squinted his eyes. As All Might's teacher, Gertrino also nodded and explained, at our speed, from this place to you, it will take up to 3 minutes. After hearing this, the police looked at the map, nodded, and then began to discuss and arrange tasks with the hero's advertisement. The approximate time of the action is set at night. As for the delay, Principal Hung Ying and Aizawa Shota took the lead in taking on the task and were responsible for dealing with the media and attracting the attention of the public. In the following time, various battle plans began to be drawn up, and the sound of Endeavor arguing with All Might could be heard from time to time in the room, making the rest of the people laugh a little. But no one noticed that outside the Shangying conference room, a girl with earlobes like a bucket was lying on the wall. The girl slowly put the bucket down, her expression extremely serious. She took a deep breath, turned and left the corridor, got into a direction where no one was there, and made a phone call. After a short blind tone, a voice came from inside. Jiro Kyoko whispered anxiously to the phone, Kirishima-san, they have an address. On the other side of the phone, in the ward of the hospital's Green Valley, almost all Class A students are in this 613. Kirishima nodded, picked up a pen and paper and started writing down the address. Various requests, this is the only thing I can do. Jiro Kyoko was a little helpless. She didn't expect that Kirishima Ejiro and the others would actually disobey the order and save Yaoyorozu Momo. Iida Ida's words instantly shook most of the classmates present. Hearing this, Kirishima Ejiro snorted coldly and said unhappily, cowardly, that's our classmate. Thank you, Jiro-san. Kirishima Ejiro thanked him sincerely, and the scar at the corner of his eye twitched twice. I, Bakugo, Shoji, and Reiro are going. Who else is coming? Kirishima Ejiro looked at the address in his hand and turned to ask the students in the room. So, students, we have to abide by the school's rules and regulations, as well as the police's arrangements. Ida strode forward and said with a straight face. There are professional heroes and police officers, and they will complete the task. Sato Rikito said naively. More, he wanted to persuade each other. But the police and teachers wouldn't let us go, and if we went, it might cause them trouble. Cut, it's just League of Villains. Bakugo Katsuki in the back sneered. This time, I must kill them. 35. Green Valley Izuku looked at the red-haired boy in front of him, not knowing what to say. Chapter 121. Goodbye to Mura Shigaraki advertisement. I'm going too. At this moment, Midori Izuku suddenly got out of bed, removed the bandage on his arm, and said with a serious face. Bakugo Katsuki looked at Green Valley Izuku, glanced at the bandage on his wrist. Smelly long, you are not allowed to get in the way this time. Green Valley, the healing girl said, if you use quirks again, your arm will be useless. Uraraka Ochako strode forward and stopped Green Valley Izuku who was removing the bandage. Green Valley Izuku turned his head, looked at everyone with a smile, waved his hand, and removed the bandage. It's alright, I'm fine, you don't have to worry. Everyone looked at Green Valley Izuku's scarred arms, and their eyes were filled with depression. Kirishima Ejiro looked at Green Valley Izuku's arm, and was about to speak to persuade, but was robbed by Bakugo Katsuki next to him. You can go with us, but only if you don't hold us back. Xiaosheng. Lu Jiyu was slightly startled and murmured. Cut, I'm so annoying. Bakugo snorted disdainfully, turned around and walked out the door, but unexpectedly bumped into Shoto Todoroki. The two looked at each other and didn't speak. Okay, All Might and the others will move at 8 o'clock in the evening. We have to be early. We will gather at the entrance of the hospital at 7 o'clock. Kirishima Ejiro instructed everyone in front of him, then turned and left the room. The atmosphere in the room was a bit depressing. Green Valley Izuku looked at the students who had no intention of going, and said with a smile, everyone, please wait for us to bring Yaoyorozu Momo back safely. Various requests, night finally came, and in front of the hospital, Green Valley Izuku, Kirishima Ejiro, Shiro Honda, and Bakugo Katsuki were already dressed and standing at the gate, waiting for the rest to arrive. Green Valley, Bakugo, look, at this moment, Kirishima Ejiro pointed in the direction of the gate with a look of surprise. At this moment, Shoto Todoroki walked towards everyone step by step, already dressed in battle clothes. His half-red, half-white hair stood out in the night light. I'm going 2 degree. Shoto Todoroki said coldly, then walked behind Green Valley and stopped talking. There are still people. Shiro pointed to the door, also surprised. Advertisement. The yellow-haired Kaminari Denki came to the front of the group, put 2 fingers on his forehead, and waved lightly. Yo, I can't be without me for this task. 35. Everyone looked at the students who came one after another with a sour nose, especially Izuku, who secretly wiped away tears. Almost all the students of Class A came here to gather. As the squad leader, I have to supervise you in this operation. 35. Ida pushed the glasses on the bridge of her nose and said solemnly. The classmates behind him showed a smile. Seeing that it was almost time, Ida stood in front and said solemnly, for this operation, we need to divide into 4 teams, me, Green Valley, Kirishima, and Boom, each of whom leads a team. Hearing this, everyone nodded their heads. They were too different from League of Villains in strength, and that was the only way. This time, no one was seriously injured, so it can be said that there is no serious problem. A few people united and escaped without any problem. By the way, isn't Madara here? Asui Suyu put his index finger on his lips and asked in confusion. Everyone looks at me, I look at you, no one knows where Uchiha Madara is. Cut, at the critical moment, this pink eye actually escaped. Bakugo Katsuki said a little irritably, his tone full of dissatisfaction. Just when everyone was wondering, Shoto Todoroki said coldly, if I guess right, the school and the police have already monitored him, and he can't leave. Everyone turned their eyes to Shoto Todoroki. Shoto Todoroki dodged his eyes deliberately and said coldly, let's go and save Yaoyorozu Wan first. Various requests, meanwhile, downstairs in a building near Uchiha Madara's home. Uchiha Madara stood downstairs, gently lifted the hood on his head, and there was a trace of wonder in his eyes. The building was completely dark and had long since been abandoned. The sound of howling wind pierced through the empty floors, recalling waves of eerie sounds. On the wall, there are big, red characters, demolition, and Uchiha Madara learned from the neighbors that it was abandoned after half of the repair, but the government has been slow to take the next step. In other words, the building has been abandoned for at least 10 years. As the self who came from transmigration, he didn't know what happened before, so he couldn't find this place. Advertisement. Uchiha Madara raised his feet and walked towards the inside of the building. The black clothes slowly melted into the darkness and disappeared at the gate. This place has long been empty. The first floor here has long been turned into a garbage dump, and all kinds of black garbage bags are piled up in every corner of the first floor. However, there is a clean and tidy road leading directly to the second floor, which looks like someone has deliberately opened it. It's amazing that this place has become a mountain of rubbish, but you can't smell the smell when you walk in it. Normally, this place should have a stench that would affect the people living around it. Presumably, someone masked the smell with quirks. Uchiha Madara slowly walked up to the second floor, and just after walking up the last steps, he saw an inky black sign. The word, bar, is written on it, and there is nothing else. There is a door next to this sign, and behind the door is a previously repaired room. It seems that this is where Tamura Shigaraki and them are. A sneer appeared on the corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth. These people really know how to play, and make fun of them. Hearing someone coming in, he bowed slightly and said indifferently, welcome, 35. Uchiha Madara walked to the door and pushed it open without hesitation. Backquote jingle. The jet black sign is even more like being in an unknown place marked in a horror movie. At the front desk, Tamura Shigaraki was covered with palms all over his body. He shook the wine glass in his hand, took a sip of the liquid inside, and said slowly, it takes so long to look next to my house. Seeing this, Uchiha Madara indifferently pushed it away and walked towards the front desk step by step. I don't know if it's because of the environment itself or the cause of quirks, Wang Dahao, but the surrounding temperature is exceptionally low, giving people a gloomy feeling. It was extremely dark in the bar, and at the front desk stood Kurogiri in a suit and leather shoes. At this moment, he was quietly wiping his glass. Handsome guy, you're here. Seeing the Uchiha class, Himiko Toga strode forward with peach blossoms in his eyes. Chapter 122. The Olive Branch of the Deadwood Advertisement. Very well, everyone is here. Uchiha Madara showed a cruel smile, and kunai slipped into her hands in an instant. The people in the room instantly felt a monstrous murderous aura, their hairs trembled, and they all became alert. No, I came to negotiate with you, not to fight with you. Tamura Shigaraki didn't seem to care about the killing intent, turned the swivel chair under his hips slightly, and turned his head to look at Uchiha Madara. Under the dim light, Uchiha Madara looked at Tamura Shigaraki's weird smile and felt a little laugh in her heart. He wanted to see what Tamura Shigaraki was trying to do. Anyway, killing him is just an instant thing. Don't talk nonsense. Uchiha Madara withdrew his murderous aura, came to a chair and sat down. At the moment when the murderous aura disappeared, everyone in the room gasped heavily. At that moment, they even thought that they couldn't breathe, and they all had an indelible sense of fear in their hearts for this young man wearing a black hood. Zizizi. The room was silent except for the sound of Kurogiri wiping his glass. After Uchiha Madara and Tamura Shigaraki looked at each other for a long time, Tamura Shigaraki slowly stood up, showed a very weird smile, and then tapped his finger. In the corner, a League of Villains guy brought Yaoyorozu Momo out. Yaoyorozu Momo, who was tied up with 5 flowers, looked at Uchiha Madara in front of him in horror. He faltered, shook his head frantically, and his eyes were full of worry. 613. Let go of her. Dead Handlewood said coldly. The League of Villains minions next to him gave Uchiha Madara a trembling glance, and hurriedly released Yaoyorozu Momo. At the moment of letting go, the minion pushed Yaoyorozu Momo hard towards Uchiha Madara. Unfortunately, the ground was not very flat. Yaoyorozu Momo stumbled under his feet, got stuck, and even knocked his body to the ground. And the ground is full of edges and corners. Whoosh. A black figure brushed past, hugged Yaoyorozu Momo into his arms, and slowly helped him up. Madara, why did you come? You shouldn't have come. Yaoyorozu Momo buried his head in Uchiha Madara's arms, choked and murmured, his small fist slamming his chest hard. Advertisement. Uchiha Madara let him beat, slowly pulled her to the chair, hugged her, and stared at Tamura Shigaraki coldly. Good skill, obviously from the hypnosis system, yet to have such a powerful strength. Tamura Shigaraki clapped his hands and laughed and praised, got up and walked towards Uchiha Madara step by step. Various requests, pat, pat. The sound of water droplets falling to the ground echoed throughout the room. Everyone was stunned for a moment. How could there be the sound of water in this place where water and electricity are not connected? But the next moment, there was a very familiar stench in the room. Only then did everyone realize that it was the sound of blood dripping onto the ground. Following the sound, everyone turned their eyes slowly. In the dim light, it was difficult for them to see the things in the room clearly. However, everyone can still vaguely see what appears to be a humanoid behind Tamura Shigaraki. A member of the League of Villains walked over slowly and came to the wall, only to see clearly that a corpse had been nailed to the wall at some point in time. The face of the deceased is full of fear, and he may not know how he died before he died. The League of Villains member fumbled a few times on the wall, and finally found the kunai pinned to the body. He turned his head to look at Uchiha Madara with anger in his eyes. It's him. At this moment, everyone suddenly realized that the corpse on the wall was the one who just pushed Yaoyorozu Momo. However, none of them saw how Uchiha Madara made a move, and they didn't even feel that there was one less person beside them. Everyone drew their weapons and stared at Uchiha Madara, who was sitting in a chair, quite leisurely. It's all right. Tamura Shigaraki raised his hand to signal, and everyone's tense bodies relaxed a little, but they still couldn't relax completely. Seeing the corpse on the wall, Tamura Shigaraki suddenly became extremely happy. He smiled and sat in front of Uchiha Madara, squinting his eyes, and said slowly, "You are very strong. Do you want to join the League of Villains?" This sentence made everyone present stunned, and they all thought that Uchiha Madara was called to get rid of this threat, so that it would be easier to eradicate Shongying in the future. But no one thought that the dead handle, AFDG, would throw an olive branch to Uchiha Madara at this moment. Advertisement. Even Uchiha Madara himself did not expect that Tamura Shigaraki could let go of his past hatred and win over him. The room became silent, and no one dared to take a breath, staring at Tamura Shigaraki and Uchiha Madara quietly. Chabi glanced at Uchiha Madara, walked over to Tamura Shigaraki, and whispered in his ear, "Is there something wrong with this?" The dead man waved his hand, motioning him to stop talking, and Dabi resigned obediently. Uchiha Madara slowly took off his hood, revealing his handsome profile in the dim light. The corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth rose slightly, and her tone was slightly frivolous. "What's in it for me to join League of Villains?" 35. Various requests. Yaoyorozu Momo in Uchiha Madara's arms looked at his cheek and suddenly felt a strong sense of strangeness. She couldn't figure out why Uchiha Madara would say such a thing, but she did not interrupt, and still listened quietly to the conversation between the two parties. Tamura Shigaraki paused, glanced at the table at the front of the bar, and asked Kurogiri to turn on the TV. On the TV screen, Shongying's press conference was playing. At the press conference, the principal and Aizawa Shota faced many cameras and explained Shongying's future plans to everyone. Uchiha Madara and Yaoyorozu Momo were both a little surprised, so Aizawa Shota, who was disgusted with the news media, was actually on TV. It was a bit incredible. Hero S. will definitely cultivate more Hero S. and ensure the safety of the students. On the screen, Aizawa Shota told the reporters in front of him with a stern face and recited the manuscripts he had memorized. About joining the League of Villains. What if I say no? Uchiha Madara's eyes turned scarlet for some time, and his tone was more contempt for the other party. Uchiha Madara looked at Tamura Shigaraki's arrogant appearance, an intriguing smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of disdain. I hope you think about it. What exactly is a hero? Tamura Shigaraki suddenly stood up, waving his arms with claws, and laughed nervously. Tamura Shigaraki was slightly taken aback when he heard it, then laughed. Rejection? The consequences? I'm afraid you can't afford it. Immediately, Tamura Shigaraki stared at Uchiha Madara unblinkingly, pointed to the tragically dead body behind him, and smiled. Will Shongying allow you to do this? Haha. Tamura Shigaraki sneered, leaning lazily on the chair, staring at the TV screen with a slightly raised corner of his mouth, his tone full of mockery. Hero S. Are they worthy? 39. Hero S. Only the real strong are worthy of these two words. Tamura Shigaraki cupped his cheeks with both hands, greedily sucked the bloody smell in the air, and made a bush sound in his nose. Of course not allowed, Uchiha Madara said naturally. It's just that no one can stop him from doing what he wants to do. Chapter 123. Hands-on, advertisement. Are you threatening me? Uchiha Madara's eyes narrowed slightly, blood-red light flashed across his eyes, and his tone was full of frivolity. Tamura Shigaraki leaned back slowly, resting his ankles on the table in front of him, seemingly giving no face to Uchiha Madara at all, and not knowing what gave him the courage. Uchiha, the door of my League of Villains is open to you at any time. Tamura Shigaraki stretched out his hands. At the same time, the League of Villains people behind him leaned over, and then locked their eyes on Uchiha Madara. Yaoyorozu Momo in Uchiha Madara's arms was stared at by these cold and ruthless eyes, and she felt a little uncomfortable. Uchiha Madara touched her hair, and she calmed down. Tamura Shigaraki paused, slowly raised his head, looked down at Madara in front of him, and his tone was full of ill will. Of course, if you don't join, then we can't keep you. Uchiha Madara naturally understood what Tamura Shigaraki meant by not keeping himself. Uchiha Madara put his arm on the handle of the chair, propped his cheek with the back of his hand, tilted his head, and scanned the people in the room. Do you have this ability? Watch your tone. The people behind Tamura Shigaraki shouted loudly, who had long been upset by Uchiha Madara. Tamura Shigaraki did not shut up the people around him, he quietly listened to the noise of those people, his eyes fixed on Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara fiddled with a kunai shimmering with cold light at his fingertips, and the black blade flipped over his slender fingertips, drawing a series of peculiar tracks. The next second, the kunai in Uchiha Madara's hand turned around and stopped. He held the handle of Kuwu lightly with his fingers, and red light flashed in his eyes. Whoosh! 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 Dozens of black lights slid out of Uchiha Madara's palm, slid past Tamura Shigaraki's ear, and cut off two silver threads. Peefed. 35, peefed. 59. What? The next moment, the person behind Tamura Shigaraki fell to the ground in an instant, screaming and kneeling. The blood between his knees was blurred. The blood flowed along the uneven floor tiles, slowly flowing over the legs of the chair under Tamura Shigaraki, and stopped in front of Uchiha Madara's feet. This. Chabi turned the blue flame in his hand, strode forward, and glanced at Tamura Shigaraki. The main League of Villains members behind him were on guard, and as long as the dead man gave an order, they would definitely fight Uchiha Sasuke to the death. Advertisement. You really don't want to join the League of Villains? If I'm not mistaken, you should have more than one quirks. Tamura Shigaraki's tone slowly became solemn, and his face climbed to a layer of ashen. You know, we can give you more quirks, my teacher even wants to take you as a disciple, as his heir. Tamura Shigaraki persuaded again, and Uchiha Madara also felt that he seemed to want to join the League of Villains. However, who is qualified to accept himself as a disciple? Even All Might didn't dare to say such words when he came to him. After Tamura Shigaraki said this, Cha-kun and the others were stunned. To be honest, Tamura Shigaraki's teacher and the others have also met. For him, it is a belief in their hearts, just like All Might. Everyone couldn't help but take a deep breath and began to re-examine the young man in front of him. Uchiha Madara smiled lightly, patted Yaoyorozu Momo's back, and said softly, "Okay, we'll leave when I get rid of them." Although the sound was not loud, it was enough to reach everyone's ears in the silent bar. The scene froze again. Various requests. On the other side, All Might and Gran Torino came to a factory. Looking up at the sky all the way, the dark clouds are like giant mountains pressing down on the eaves of the sky, and the setting sun is slowly not entering the ground level. The dark sky made the whole factory look very strange, making people breathless. All Might looked at the factory in front of him. Although there was a smile on the corner of his mouth, he looked so bitter. I'm afraid today is a tough battle. Grant, who used to be an old urchin, stopped laughing and walked towards the workshop with a sullen face. At the same time, in a mountain park in the southwest of the city, a group of professional heroes and police officers stood beside Endeavor. The flames all over their bodies were particularly conspicuous in the darkness. Endeavor's eyes were full of cold colors, staring at the dim cave in front of him, and said coldly, "All Might, this time I want to prove that I am stronger than you." Although he was full of momentum, he never noticed that there were a group of young teenagers squatting on the tree trunk not far from the forest. Shoto Todoroki looked at Endeavor not far away with complicated eyes, rubbed his mouth, and muttered bitterly, "Father." At the same time, Green Valley Izuku and the others also came to the downstairs of an abandoned building, and the expressions of Iida and Ida around them were particularly heavy. A few people leaned against the wall and groped upstairs little by little. Advertisement 0. For flowers, inside the bar, Tamura Shigaraki looked at Uchiha Madara in front of him with a grim expression. "Hey, solve us? I think you can't protect yourself." Uchiha Madara stood up, draped her coat over Yaoyorozu Momo's shoulders, and glanced at Tamura Shigaraki. "The fight will start in a while, just run downstairs, don't look back." Uchiha Madara put his body against Yaoyorozu Momo's ear and whispered. But Yaoyorozu Momo's eyes were slightly wet. She reached out to touch Uchiha Madara's cheek, and finally nodded. "Trust me, you go first, we'll see you tomorrow." After Uchiha Madara finished speaking, he slowly turned around and looked at Tamura Shigaraki in front of him with disdain. "I don't understand the meaning of ants, and you don't need to explain." Uchiha Madara's hands were surrounded by kuna around his fingertips, and a purple mist filled his cheeks. Waiting for the smoke to dissipate, he even changed his clothes. After taking a look, it was Senju Hashirama who walked out of the hospital. No one could understand why he had to transform his face and body. Even Tamura Shigaraki in front of him was a little surprised. He even wondered if Uchiha Madara had another power like his teacher, otherwise, how could he have so many quirks? "I warn you one last time, I hope you don't regret it." Tamura Shigaraki was determined to complete her teacher's task. While speaking, he took out a green test tube from his arms and held it in his hand. The people around Dabi are also ready to attack. The blue flame in Dabi's hand instantly rushed towards Uchiha Madara, and before the blue flame swallowed it, a strange red glow flashed across Uchiha Madara's eyes. A few teardrops floated in the air, evaporated by the blue flame. Yaoyorozu Momo knew that she was a burden to stay, so she pushed open the door of the bar without hesitation, turned around and ran out. Tamura Shigaraki seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly his face changed greatly, and he shouted, "Quick attack, he is waiting for someone." There was an intriguing smile on the corner of his mouth, and then he calmly said to Yaoyorozu Momo beside him, "Go." The next moment, a wall next to the bar collapsed, and a string of green vines burrowed into it. Boom. A stern look flashed across Uchiha Madara's eyes, and she didn't answer the other party for the first time. Instead, it was more like she was waiting for something. Boom. Chapter 124. All for one advertisement. Heroic. Tamura Shigaraki's face changed instantly. He turned his head and glanced at the TV. In the picture, Aizawa Shota, who was holding a press conference, looked down at his watch, and a faint smile appeared on his originally indifferent face. Aizawa Shota stared at the camera in front of him and said calmly, "Hero, you won't let it go." Inside the bar, vines kept pouring in, restraining the members of the League of Villains in the room. Jungle Kamui stood outside the bar and shouted loudly, "Under Jungle Kamui, League of Villains, let's go." Boom. As soon as Kamui's voice fell in the jungle, a huge fist ripped open the walls around the bar, and the gravel fell to the ground, splashing smoke and dust. Mount Lady comes in. Mount Lady stood outside, her lips lifted, her eyes fixed on the person inside. On the shoulders of Mount Lady, there was also a man dressed in a strange costume of 617. At this moment, his expression was a little surprise. Best Jeanist. He looked indifferently at the people in the room, but what caught his attention the most was the Senju Hashirama, standing opposite Tamura Shigaraki. He could vaguely feel that this man was very strong, but after seeing his face, Best Jeanist was a little unfamiliar. Because in his memory, he had never seen this man, so Best Jeanist subconsciously began to search for information about this man in his mind. Seeing that everyone was restrained, Tamura Shigaraki turned his head and shouted to Kurogiri at the bar, "Teleport us away." Unfortunately, he turned his head to find that Kurogiri had already been knocked unconscious by the jungle Kamui, lying motionless among the vines. Tamura Shigaraki turned his head anxiously and glanced at the boy and Choppy who were bound by the poisonous mist. However, Kamui's strength in the jungle was too great, and no one could break free. In desperation, Tamura Shigaraki gritted his teeth and picked up a small microphone, "Teacher." While Tamura Shigaraki was calling for his teacher, Kamui also saw Uchiha Madara in the room. "Huh? There's another one," said the dense forest Kamui. The dense vines turned into several sharp spears and shot at Uchiha Madara. Whoosh! 99 the next second, he only saw Uchiha Madara's figure shaking in place a few times. The vines wiped Uchiha Madara's body as if through water, and nailed it to the wall behind him. But Uchiha Madara himself did not leave the place even one step. This. Milan Kamui frowned deeply. This might be the other side's quirks. Advertisement. Whoosh. Jungle Kamui threw strings of wooden spears as if unbelieving, but no matter how hard he attacked, he could not hit Uchiha Madara. It's like the person doesn't even exist there. Let's go. Uchiha Madara's eyes flashed a stern look, and his body was filled with a strong killing intent. In the jungle, Kamui's cold sweat slipped on the ground along the green coat. The moment he was stared at by Uchiha Madara, he felt the most primitive fear in his heart, and the vine in his hand could not help loosening a bit. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Tamura Shigaraki suddenly ran forward, taking advantage of his unpreparedness to break up the vines on the people around him. He turned and stared at Uchiha Madara in the distance, his eyes filled with resentment. "Go!" Tamura Shigaraki gave an order, and the entire League of Villains members of the bar instantly disappeared. In place, there were only three people standing outside the building. Best Jeanist, Jungle Kamui, and Mount Lady. What's the situation? What about people? What are these quirks? Time could not be delayed for a second. Best Jeanist pinched the radio in his ear and said anxiously. "This is Best Jeanist. We're here for the League of Villains, but just 20 seconds ago, they disappeared." 5. Everyone present did not expect such a dramatic scene. Jungle Kamui frowned. "I've already stunned that teleportation guy, but why?" Best Jeanist stepped forward, his eyes gradually turning cold. Maybe it wasn't Kurogiri who sent them away. Various requests. On the other side, Izuku Green Valley met Yaoyorozu Momo, who was a little embarrassed. Yaoyorozu won. Seeing Yaoyorozu Momo, Green Valley Izuku rushed forward first. "How are you? Are you alright?" Yaoyorozu Momo's eyes were a little sloppy. She shook her head and didn't say a word. Iida Ida took a few steps forward, assisted Green Valley Izuku, held Yaoyorozu Momo, and said without looking back, "Quick, protect Yaoyorozu Wan." Advertisement, kindness. Everyone stepped forward and protected Yaoyorozu Momo in it. "What's the matter? All Might, where are you?" On the other side, Best Jeanist glanced at the police car coming downstairs, and stood silently in place waiting for Zero. The reply came from the headset. Inside the headset, the voice of Endeavor. "I am the Nomu factory here, and we are suppressing Nomu now." "Nomu? How many? Do we need help?" Best Jeanist's face was a little ugly. After all, they might not have gained anything from this operation, and they couldn't hold on to their faces. "It's enough for me alone." Endeavor's voice was just finished, and there was a burst of burning and crackling in the earphones. Apparently, this is Nomu being blown up. At this moment, All Might's dull voice suddenly came from the headphones. "League of Villains is here with me, and of course another guy." Everyone immediately realized that the tone of All Might's words was not right. As usual, All Might would definitely have a hearty laugh. But today, it is so abnormal. In front of an abandoned factory in the suburbs, All Might stared at the front with a serious expression, and said coldly, "Come out, even if you turn into ashes, I can still recognize the stench." 35. "I had no idea he didn't die." Boom. After Tamura Shigaraki came out, the last intact wall collapsed and turned into a pile of rubble. The atmosphere was instantly suppressed, and everyone could feel the huge sense of oppression on All Might, and the faces of League of Villains instantly turned a little ugly. "I didn't expect All Might from number 1 to be obsessed with me." Deep in the dim factory, a burly man in a black suit and 3.6-inch face mask walked out slowly. "However, wait a moment, you are not my guest today." All 4. One sneered twice, turned his head and slowly walked towards Uchiha Madara who was standing alone. All 4. 1. Looking at this familiar man, All Might almost gritted his teeth. On the side of the factory is a bar that is out of tune with this place, and at this moment, only one wall of the bar remains intact. Uchiha Madara looked at the hand stretched out in front of him, looked up at All 4. 1, and there was a hint of displeasure in his eyes. I saw him extending his right hand towards Uchiha Madara, his tone full of sincerity. "I hope you will join our League of Villains and be my disciple." Chapter 125. Drugs to Eliminate Quirks Advertisement. All Might on the other side was very surprised. He was very familiar with All 4. 1. but All Might had never seen him pull down like this to invite someone and make him his heir. All Might and Grant looked at each other, then strode forward, standing not far away, looking at Uchiha Madara who had turned into Senju Hashirama, as if he wanted to say something. Seeing this, All For One's arm exploded instantly, and a string of white whirlwinds threw out, hitting All Might. Boom! All Might crossed his arms and plunged his legs hard into the ground, resisting the sudden gust of wind. All For One pointed at All Might and shouted loudly, "Boy, open your eyes and take a good look, this is All Might." Boom! 66 feet boom! Boom! All Might has completely become a negative teaching material in his hands, attack after attack, one after another. All For One stared at All Might, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, his voice was so small that only All Might could hear it clearly. "You must have lost that power in your body, right? 5. Hearing this, All Might said nothing, and O5 continued to resist All For One's attack. "Let me guess who the heir is, Izuku Green Valley?" "You don't need to know." All Might turned his attention to Uchiha Madara who turned into Senju Hashirama. But he couldn't remember who this person was. The person who could be attracted by AI. For One was definitely not ordinary. But unfortunately, apart from League of Villains, no one present knew his true identity. "Teacher, do you know who this person is?" All Might turned slightly and asked Grant beside him in a low voice. Grant shook his head. There was no such person in his memory. "Various requests, I heard that you have more than one quirks, because of the lack of eyes, All For One didn't know that Uchiha Madara had changed into something else. "As long as you come to me, I can teach you how to master your quirks and use them with them." "Who?" All For One made a violent hoe, and the whirlwind and flames mixed together to form a powerful tornado, which hit All Might. Advertisement: "Take a good look, the incomparably powerful All Might in your eyes is unbearable in my hands." All For One laughed wildly, and the black suit was blowing in the breeze, like a king who lived in the world. Boom! "Friend, are you planning to be an enemy of the whole society?" All Might was shaken back several steps by the aftermath of the explosion, but he did not forget to console Uchiha Madara. Boring. Uchiha Madara shook his head, patted the dust on his shoulders, and turned to leave. At this moment, the reporter team and the police surrounded the place. Uchiha Madara glanced up at the camera above, paying no attention. The reporters were sitting on the helicopter, holding up the microphone and shouting loudly, "Look, the three sides are against each other, will All Might fight 1 against 2? All Might was relieved to see that the other party did not agree to All For One. All Might slowly straightened his body and stepped forward. Justice will never be absent. All For One doesn't care about All Might's remarks at all, and his attention is now mostly on Uchiha Madara. "You have to think about it, come to me, you can learn more." All For One still did not give up and persuaded loudly. The members of League of Villains on the side also had their pupils shrinking. They really didn't understand what magic Uchiha Madara had to make All For One so fascinated. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara's eyes flashed with disdain, and he sneered, "You want to be my teacher? I'm afraid you are not qualified." After saying this sentence, the entire scene was instantly silent. Everyone seemed to be strangled by the throat, unable to make a sound. All For One slowly retracted his hand, then took off his suit and threw it aside casually. "If that's the case, then you're useless." 5. Since he can't control it, just grab his quirks, various requests. When All Might was still reminiscing about Uchiha Madara's arrogant appearance and thinking about who this person looked like, All For One had already shot and went straight to Uchiha Madara. "Be careful, this guy can take people's quirks." All Might saw All For One attacking each other, and the force of his feet flew out. Boom! All For One was knocked flying by All Might. All For One instantly overwhelmed the wall, and the gravel submerged it. All For One slowly climbed out of the ruins, twisting its body, and there was a sound of quack. Advertisement. His eyes were cold and he looked straight at the three in front of him. "Then you three, die here, 99. The moment his voice fell, the figure of All For One disappeared instantly. When the next moment appeared, he was already beside Uchiha Madara, and his thick whip legs slammed towards him. Harden, muscles swell, 35. All For One's legs were covered with an iron cyan color, and the muscles were bulging, and with bursts of air, they slammed into Uchiha Madara. Whoosh! Uchiha Madara's figure flickered for a while and disappeared in place in an instant. Boom! All For One's whip legs slammed hard on the wall behind him, the mud and rocks collapsed, and the ground cracked. Looking in the direction of the All For One kick, you can see a gully with a length of several dozen meters. The trees on both sides of the gully are not overwhelmed by the soil, exposing the roots of the buried trees. Uchiha Madara frowned slightly. This is not the same as All Might. All Might is purely power enhancement, and the attack method is relatively simple. But this All For One is different. He is layered on top of one another. 2 or even several kinds of quirks are mixed together. Ghosts know what will happen. Beware is essential. Uchiha Madara's eyes flashed a stern look, and bursts of killing intent flashed across his body. "Deadwood, throw the medicine." All For One shouted loudly, looking at Tamura Shigaraki. When the test tube touched the ground, it exploded, and there was a sound of corrosion. Hearing this, Tamura Shigaraki threw the green test tube that he had been holding to his teacher. "Drugs to get rid of the quirks?" Although Tamura Shigaraki's voice was low, All Might heard it clearly. All Might's expression was solemn. Teacher, go and see that person, All. As far as he knows, the only person who can eliminate quirks is Aizawa Shoda. Standing in the distance, Tamura Shigaraki showed a sick smile and murmured, remove the quirks potion, I can't wait to see you being beaten by your teacher. Call. The test tube flew in the air for a few laps and disappeared out of thin air, and when it appeared next time, it had already arrived at the feet of Uchiha Madara. The green potion adhered to the ground, and a green smoke instantly wafted around Uchiha Madara. Chapter 126. Fighting Advertisement. Boom. Before All Might could finish speaking, a heavy punch slammed into him. All Might hurriedly raised his hand to parry, in a hurry to lose the power of AI. 4-1, groaned, and his whole body flew out. The war between several people is being spread all the time by journalists who are not afraid of death. Pedestrians walking on the road, as well as people sitting at home watching TV, stopped one after another, sweating in their hands. Under the big screen in the commercial street, the eyes of Izuku Green Valley were solemn, and tears rolled in the eyes of the surrounding people. I don't know who it is, shouted among the thousands of people, All Might come on. The next moment, everyone around was shouting and cheering for him. A smile appeared on the corner of Izuku's mouth, and he shouted with his classmates to cheer for him. But no one noticed. Yaoyorozu Momo stared at Senju Hashirama on the screen, clasped his hands on his chest, and whispered, Madara, you must come back safely. On the other side, All 4-1 stood where he was, looking at Uchiha Madara who was surrounded by fog in front of him, spread his hands and smiled wantonly. However, the next moment, a string of dazzling green light cut through the cloud of smoke, and several wooden pegs rubbed All 4-1's cheek, leaving a faint bloodstain. All 4-1's movements suddenly stopped. He reached out and touched his cheeks, feeling the wetness on his face, and his tone contained shock. I didn't expect your physical skills to reach such a level. In the eyes of All 4-1, Uchiha Madara's quirks have disappeared, and what Uchiha Madara is using now is pure physique. Ahead, the smoke and dust slowly dissipated, and the green mist disappeared with time and the breeze. Uchiha Madara crouched down, picked up a little bit of the green liquid stained with test tube fragments, and shoved it with her fingers, a trace of disdain in her eyes. Because Uchiha Madara has no so-called quirks at all. Various requests, not far from Uchiha Madara's side, the gravel was ripped apart a little bit. All Might stroked the two prominent yellow hairs on his head, and showed a hearty smile. Do you think your attack is effective? All Might's confident smile is on camera, and in Uchiha Madara's eyes, the corners of his mouth are already bleeding red. All 4-1 looked at All Might's embarrassed appearance, and a sneer crossed the corner of his mouth. He moved his joints, turned his head and glanced at Uchiha Madara, and then at All Might, a maimed, a calf, really not afraid of death. Advertisement. All 4-1 sneered, your power is no longer in your body, and what you consume now is just the stubble for life. There was a trace of unnaturalness in All Might's eyes, but then it returned to normal. Although he is not as strong as the other party now, but as the spiritual pillar of people, he must stick to his teeth. Uchiha Madara looked at All Might and sighed helplessly. Just as a bystander, he could feel that the gap between the two was already huge. But if All 4-1 kills All Might in full view, it's going to be a big problem. If nothing else, society will first be in great chaos because of his death. Uchiha Madara felt a little speechless. If All Might didn't come, he could resolve All 4-1 decisively and then walked away. It's useless to talk too much, look at the tricks. Even though All Might disappeared on the spot, he used his right hand to punch All 4-1, and the attack in his hand was as violent as a hurricane. The two sides scuffled together in an instant. With the two at the center, the ground around them began to crack, and the crumbling factory building collapsed in the aftermath of the battle between the two. Uchiha Madara looked at the people next to him, and slowly walked towards them. His fingers moved a little bit, and there were bursts of noise. Taking advantage of the time All Might and All 4-1 are fighting, it's better to get these guys out first. Various requests, Deadwood. Dabi's eyes narrowed, reminding Tamura Shigaraki loudly. Tamura Shigaraki came back to his senses, only to find that Uchiha Madara had quietly come to his side. Uchiha Madara throws a random punch and Tamura Shigaraki hurries to dodge. Boom. With a loud bang, Uchiha Madara's fingers sank into the soil like tofu. Yo, the response is good. Uchiha Madara slowly pulled out his hand, blowing the dirt on his fingertips, and said lazily. The cold sweat dripped down his cheeks. No one knew about it, but he knew very well that he would definitely not be able to beat Uchiha Madara. In other words, as far as physical skills are concerned, if the current self fights Uchiha Madara, the probability of dying in his hands is almost 99%. The only 1%, it is estimated that Uchiha Madara let himself go. Just when Tamura Shigaraki was stunned, a white light suddenly floated not far away, and then froze in front of him. Advertisement. A dark space door was opened, and the voice of All 4-1 came from not far away, backquote, you guys go first. Hearing this, Tamura Shigaraki gritted his teeth and said without looking back, let's go. Just when a few people were about to step into the space gate, a figure suddenly appeared and blocked them. Uchiha Madara raised his forehead slightly, his body exuding a near substantial murderous aura. Where do you guys want to go? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As Uchiha Madara's voice fell, a string of kunai appeared out of nowhere, pinning them at the feet of several people, forcing them to retreat. Young man, if you cut me off, I will kill that Wang Dezhao girl. The voice of all for one came again. Hearing all for one's words, All Might was slightly startled. Juvenile? Is this the wrong name? The guy looked like he was about 30 years old. But thinking of the age of all for one, All Might is a little relieved. With such a stunned effort, All Might was knocked into the air and fell into the rubble again. Boom. What is this? Court death. Uchiha Madara understands that if a person is pushed to the point of no return, he can do anything. What's more, now that Yaoyorozu Momo is not by his side, he doesn't know what will happen next. However, the tone of all for one really upset Uchiha Madara. Threaten? Chapter 127. Do I agree that you are leaving? Advertisement. A cold light flashed across Uchiha Madara's eyes, his right hand shook slightly, and a few shurikens slid from his palm. Whoosh! Uchiha Madara's wrist was forced, the shuriken flipped, and it was pinned in front of Tamura Shigaraki and the Chippy Spinner, who had his back to Kurogiri in front of him, stood there, with a ruthless look in his eyes. After all, he was the one who hated Uchiha Madara the most in the entire League of Villains. Westo! Dobby's expression became ugly, and he shouted loudly to a man covered in black in the crowd behind him. I'm here. Westu got out of it and hurriedly came to Choppy's side, kneading his body a few times, and slowly split into a string of black mud. The layer of mud slowly condensed into the appearance of Cha-kun, and at the same time, blue flames rolled in his palms. It's interesting, Uchiha Madara muttered softly, a look of surprise in his eyes. This is similar to Shadow Clone, and a little stronger than Shadow Clone. It is a complete attribute ability. Unexpectedly, there is such talent in League of Villains. Uchiha Madara glanced at Westu's appearance with a smile on the corner of his mouth. This person exudes an explosive sense of 617. It seems that physical skills are also very strong, and he is a good talent. Westu was stared at by Uchiha Madara's red eyes and felt uncomfortable, and deliberately avoided the other party's gaze. Do I agree to let you go? Uchiha Madara walked slowly towards the League of Villains, playing with the kunai in his hand. What the hell are you trying to do? Tamura Shigaraki scolded coldly, his body tense up and down, not daring to relax. You asked me to come, and you want to leave before you're done? As he spoke, the kunai in Uchiha Madara's hands disappeared instantly. Ding! Kuwu had been nailed to a finger's width in front of everyone's toes. The entire blade did not enter the ground, only the black handle on the top was exposed outside the ground. What makes everyone feel terrible is not the speed of kunai's shooting, but Uchiha Madara's precise control of kunai's distance. The kunai in front of each person, the distance is the same, exactly the same. Advertisement, then what do you think? Tamura Shigaraki squinted at Uchiha Madara, and he also expected that things would not be solved so easily. He glanced, AFDG, at the teacher who was fighting with all might in the distance, and a strange color flashed across his eyes. Now I'm afraid they can only rely on themselves. The Uchiha Madara in front of them, to them, is more like a monstrous beast, hard to resist. Various requests. At this moment, there is a lot of regret in the heart of the dead Handlewood. Why did he provoke such a monster in the first place? It's just a small matter, don't panic. At this moment, Uchiha Madara actually burst out laughing, not feeling the depression before the war at all. He glanced at everyone present, the corners of his mouth curled slightly, and he said lightly, I'm going to set up a new organization, have you joined? When he said these words, almost all the League of Villains members who wanted to leave were dumbfounded, and they didn't respond for a long time. The last moment was killing intent, and the next moment the other party actually began to persuade him to surrender. Of course, I only need to join, those who don't join, it's useless to stay. Although Uchiha Madara spoke very lightly, everyone could feel the unconcealed killing intent in his tone. It's so daring, Tamura Shigaraki shouted first, almost trembling all over his body from anger. He had never been so underestimated, he even felt that the Uchiha Madara in front of him was simply out to insult him. Time passed little by little, and everyone looked at Tamura Shigaraki who was facing off against Uchiha Madara, not knowing what to do. From the brief confrontation, they could feel that Tamura Shigaraki was like a chick in front of Uchiha Madara. On the other hand, Uchiha Madara, he is more in line with the leader in their minds, cold-blooded and ruthless. Think about it for yourself. After joining the League of Villains, Tamura Shigaraki kept talking about overthrowing heroes every day, but what happened? Saying this, Uchiha Madara rolled his eyes and pointed at All Might and All For One who were still fighting, his tone full of disdain. What did you do, or how much influence did your actions have on the hero? Advertisement, you act exactly like children, follow me, and I can make you go on the path you want to take. As soon as the words fell, Uchiha Madara quickly formed a seal with both hands, and spit out a huge, orange-red flame from his mouth. Fire style, great fireball technique. BWGB. B. The flames enveloped the surroundings, blocking the view of cameramen and reporters in the helicopter, in the sky. Various requests. Hearing this, Chabi glanced at Tamura Shigaraki beside him and squinted slightly. Everyone likes to follow the strong, but because of All For One, they succumb to this seemingly young child. However, now, there are stronger people who can take them farther. Isn't this a better choice? However, if they jumped to the rebellion to join Uchiha Madara now, they would be in a passive situation if All For One backhanded to get in trouble. All in all, there are pros and cons. The corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth were slightly raised, and he naturally knew that their concerns were nothing more than the so-called Emperor of Darkness. You don't have to worry about All For 1. If he gets in the way, just get rid of it. Uchiha Madara said it quite easily, like killing a chicken, without any tension. Arrogant. A man who looked like a lizard jumped out, pulled out the long knife behind his back, and blocked Tamura Shigaraki. Behind him, there was a long-haired man with a huge mallet on his back, and his eyes were full of anger. Not only them, but Tamura Shigaraki himself, who was on the verge of erupting at the moment. Don't allow you to blaspheme your teacher like this. Humph. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara looked at Tamura Shigaraki coldly. As long as Tamura Shigaraki dared to make a move, he would immediately end him. The next moment, Yinshi Jianxi put down the magnet behind him, his eyes rolled with anger, his quirks were activated, and a powerful magnetic field hit Uchiha Madara. A strong suction force came, pulling Uchiha Madara closer to it. Chapter 128, The Great Reversal Advertisement, Bang, 35. Behind Shurjan's magnet, Spinner, who looked like a lizard, took out his long knives on both sides and placed them in the path of the past, with a cruel smile on his face. To make you arrogant, you need to know that there are people outside people, but there are heavens outside. Spinner is confident because he and Yinshi Jianxi have never been beaten, and even all, 4-1 praised their combined moves well. But the next moment, a black shadow flashed, and the perfect move in their minds was cracked in just a blink of an eye. Clang. The weapons in their hands fell to the ground, and the figure of Uchiha Madara disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he grabbed one person's throat in each of his left and right hands, and was now in the center of the League of Villains members. What happened? No one knows what happened, just a breath. Spinner and Yinshi Jianxi locked their throats by each other. Am I arrogant? Uchiha Madara squinted his eyes, and the three black-hooked jades slowly rotated and connected together. 3 Guyu crossed a touch of red light, the demon and the evil, charming, captivating people's souls. Spinner's terrified eyes slowly dimmed and became empty. Uchiha Madara let go, and the two of them didn't move as if they had lost their souls. Immediately, Uchiha Madara clapped his hands, turned and walked towards Tamura Shigaraki. Uchiha Madara, Spinner and Yinshijian were like two walking corpses, walking slowly to the open space next to each other. At the same time, they picked up the two long knives Spinner had previously held, and put them on each other's necks. Dabi and the others' pupils shrank slightly, and their eyes were full of horror. Various requests, his quirks, haven't disappeared? How can that be? Advertisement. Bah. Under the control of Uchiha Madara, the long knife slashed across the necks of the two men, sending out 2 bloody arrows. In the blink of an eye, the two of them, who were still in high spirits just now, had already fallen to the ground, turning into 2 cold corpses. Uchiha Madara can control people's minds? Dabi couldn't help but took a step back, cold sweat dripping down. They are more afraid of Uchiha Madara's evil power than All Might's explosive crushing quirks. Everyone looked at Uchiha Madara's red eyes, and many people already had the answer in their hearts. Madara, I will join you. His face flushed with flushes. Originally she was full of love for Uchiha Madara, but she did not act rashly because of Tamura Shigaraki. It just so happened that at this moment Uchiha Madara showed her great strength, and now she has completely suppressed the desire in her heart. I'll join, Master. The poisonous fog boy walked out of the crowd, and his name for the Uchiha class seemed so inconsistent. Master? A look of surprise flashed in Dabi's eyes, and there was already speculation in his heart. Ah, I'll join too. Twice stepped forward slowly. Who doesn't like the more attractive boss? He is such a person. Uchiha Madara looked at Tamura Shigaraki's almost pale face, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, glanced behind him from the corner of his eye, and said softly, anything else? The muscular man who had been seriously injured by Green Valley Izuku before took off his mask, revealing his hideous face under the mask, and shouted, I'll join too, 99. At this moment, only Cha-kun and the deceiver who had just recovered from the serious injury were left on the field. There was a dignified look on Dabi's brows. He paused, then stepped forward, the flames in his palm disappeared. I will join too. Uchiha Madara glanced at the disappointed cheater in the corner, thought for a moment, then smiled, as long as I join, I'll let it go. The fraudster was slightly taken aback when he heard it. In fact, he was the one who started this matter. And at this moment Uchiha Madara actually chose to give himself a chance. Of course he was very excited. This means that his life can be saved. The deceiver hurriedly strode forward, bowed slightly and said, I'm the deceiver, and I force Oguang to join. Advertisement 0. For flowers. Although an arm and a leg were removed by Uchiha Madara before, with the help of AI. 4-1, he has long since recovered. The reason why Uchiha Madara let go of the oppression is more because this person is very useful. And now this new organization, it is the time when there is a shortage of people. Various requests, you. Tamura Shigaraki's forehead burst with blue veins, his feet exerted force, and he went towards Uchiha Madara like crazy. Bang! 55 in the next second, a cold light flashed, and a pool of bright red blood and an almost gray wrist appeared on the ground. Tamura Shigaraki instantly froze in place, clutching his wrists, and fell unsteadily to the ground, eyes bloodshot. In any case, Tamura Shigaraki will never betray all. 4-1. Boss, what about Kurogiri? Dabi walked over to Uchiha Madara and asked in a low voice. The prosperous fire in the sky was divided into two and extinguished little by little, and the scene inside was instantly exposed to the eyes of everyone. Boom. The air was filled with the smell of blood, although the eyes could not see, but all 4-1 knew what was going on. Seeing this, all 4-1 1, not far away, suddenly exerted strength in his hand, and unexpectedly knocked All Might back a few steps with one punch. Uchiha Madara dragged Tamura Shigaraki all the way, leaving a long trail of blood on the ground. Madara is big, so me. Himiko Toga winked at Uchiha Madara, then turned around and stepped into the portal. Dabi nodded after hearing this, pulled Kurogiri, and walked slowly towards the portal. Uchiha Madara looked at the purple portal behind him and said casually, "You take him away first, he will definitely join, and come to my house in a few days." 39.
Remember to find a TV when you go back, Uchiha Madara said coldly, then grabbed Tamura Shigaraki's hair and walked out of the flames.
Chapter 129. Madara saw for one advertisement. Uchiha Madara used his right hand and threw Tamura Shigaraki high. Tamura Shigaraki's body slid through an arc in the air and landed exactly at the feet of All. 4. 1. Tamura Shigaraki looked at his teacher, his eyes were bloodshot. "Teacher, those guys, they rebelled." All. 4. 1 was not surprised after hearing this, but comforted, "It's okay, just get rid of them when I'm done with this." On the other side, the Chippiji people who had escaped stood in front of a big screen in the street, and when they heard what All. 4. 1 said, they shivered all over for some reason.
After all, what they have seen with their own eyes shows that this person's strength is comparable to that of O. June 17th, her mate.
Just when everyone was fascinated, a strange voice suddenly came from the screen. "There is no chance, you have to pay the price today." The camera slowly turns to Uchiha Madara. And Uchiha Madara's words are obviously to All. 4. 1. "Thank you, friend." All Might wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked at Uchiha Madara, and responded gratefully. From the point of view of All Might, the young man in front of him was on the same front as himself. Uchiha Madara gave All Might a cold look, but did not respond to him. Uchiha Madara slowly put the hood on top of his head, lowered the brim slightly, moved his arms and joints, and a dim red light flashed across his eyes. "Pay the price, then see if you have the ability." Hearing Uchiha Madara's words, All. 4. 1 was slightly startled, and when he recovered the next moment, he found that he had come to a completely unfamiliar place. A strange red moon slowly rose on the horizon in the distance, hanging high above the head. "What's the matter? Your quirks? Or teleportation?" All. 4. 1's face was a little ugly, which obviously did not match the record. "Aren't his quirks hypnosis? Everything here seems to be covered with a layer of red mist, which is strange and terrifying." Advertisement. Whoosh. In the next second, Uchiha Madara suddenly appeared beside All. 4. 1, with his right hand in the shape of a blade, attacking the opponent. Various requests, All. 4. 1 subconsciously wanted to block, but the moment he touched Uchiha Madara, he regretted it. He felt like his body had hit a big mountain, and he couldn't resist at all. That powerful force spread from his arms to his whole body, causing him to feel numbness in his skin and a dull pain in his bones. Like a sandbag, All. 4. 1 was easily thrown out by Uchiha Madara, and then fell to the ground, throwing a cloud of dust.
Your strength is very strong, no less than All Might, even stronger than him, but unfortunately, you met me.
All. 4. 1 slowly got up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and the injuries on his body recovered in an instant. All. 4. 1 moves its arms, and the muscles on the body slowly harden and expand. Boom. All. 4. 1 threw his right hand fiercely, and an invisible wind blade struck Uchiha Madara at a very fast speed. Looking at the flying wind blade, the corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled slightly, and her hands quickly formed a seal. Fire style, Long Yan Song technique, boom. There was a loud noise, and orange flames ignited around, and the 4 fire dragons opened their bloody mouths and bit the wind blade in one bite. Immediately afterwards, 4 fire dragons swarmed up and went straight to All. 4. 1. This. All. 4. 1's face was a little ugly, and he jumped into the air with a slight force under his feet, trying to avoid the 4 hideous fire dragons. However, what he didn't expect was that the 4 fire dragons actually entangled each other in midair and then aimed at All. 4. 1 again. Advertisement. Seeing that there is no escape, All. 4. 1 can only resist. Countless defensive quirks were superimposed, almost covering his body, and even a layer of blue ripples appeared on the surface of his body. Boom. The two collided, and a fiery cloud bloomed in the air, blazing hot. Various requests. A few seconds later, a man with billowing white smoke stood up, his suit was already in tatters. The liquid originally attached to the body was evaporated at high temperature by Long Yan's singing, leaving a hideous layer of blisters on his body. Makes the scalp tingling. That's all you can do. All. 4. 1 coughed twice, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and then floated layers of green light on his body. What seemed to be a serious injury at first recovered in an instant. Super regeneration? Seeing this, Uchiha Madara smiled slightly and didn't care. 3.6. Let you feel the fear, All. 4. 1 opened his arms, and under his control, a black space door opened beside him. Immediately, All. 4. 1 directly reached into the space door. With the deepening of All. 4. 1, the number of space gates has doubled, and in a blink of an eye, it has already exceeded 100. And every space door exudes a disgusting aura. The next second, hundreds of hands stretched out from the space gate and grabbed towards Uchiha Madara. Seeing this, a blue light flashed under Uchiha Madara's feet, her body instantly disappeared from the spot, and she evacuated dozens of meters away. Chapter 130. The Fall of the Dark Emperor advertisement. These hundreds of hands were firmly grasped on the ground, and the ground instantly vanished into ashes, as if swallowed by something and disappeared into the air. Uchiha Madara is quite familiar with these hands because he had seen them not long ago. It's Tamura Shigaraki's hand. Why, you don't even spare your apprentice's quirks. Humph. Hearing this, all 4-1 snorted coldly and didn't seem to intend to answer Uchiha Madara's question. Quirks or something, just return it to Tamura Shigaraki after this fight is over. Brush, under the control of all 4-1. The space gate can be said to be elusive and extremely fast. Uchiha Madara's figure flickered back and forth, leaving behind black afterimages in place. Honkai, split and teleportation, I don't believe you can escape. All 4-1's mentality was almost distorted. Right now, he just wants to get in the way of Uchiha Madara. Whoosh! At this moment, Uchiha Madara suddenly stopped and stood in place. Why, don't hide. All 4-1 pulled out a sinister smile. This is the price you have to pay. 95. Take care of yourself first. 55. Uchiha Madara's body was surging with chakra. The red in his eyes gradually faded, and a circle of purple ripples was spread instead. There were bursts of explosions in the sky, and all 4-1 was stunned. Although he couldn't see it, this strong sense of oppression still made him subconsciously look up at the sky. Earth explosion. Tianxing. Just as Uchiha Madara finished speaking, countless huge meteorites slowly blocked the red moonlight in the sky. The earth is also covered with darkness, and the only thing left between the heaven and the earth are those jet-black meteorites and the unbelievable all 4-1. Various requests, countless meteorites slammed into all 4-1. Seeing this, all 4-1 hurriedly controlled the space door and reached out to those meteorites. Advertisement, however, a meteorite is not a small stone. Boom. The moment the palm touched the surface of the meteorite, it instantly turned into a cloud of blood and exploded. This makes all 4-1 more sure that this is not an illusion, but a real scene. All 4-1 speeds up the creation of space gates and palms, but the meteorites he destroyed are insignificant compared to the falling meteorites. Boom. The next moment, the meteorite hit the ground, and the land fell and the earth cracked in an instant. With all 4-1 as the center, layers of continuous ripples were splashed. The powerful shockwave blew everything around Uchiha Madara, and in an instant, the entire space flew away, turning into a pile of chaos and confusion. It's not dead. The smoke slowly dissipated. Uchiha Madara raised his hand and brushed the hair in front of his forehead lightly, walking towards all 4-1. All 4-1 stood up slowly. There was no intact skin on the top and bottom of his body, and his right chest was even penetrated by a sharp stone cone. With a slight force on his right hand, he pulled out the stone cone on his body, and the green light rolled on his body. A white light passed by, and the injuries on all 4-1 recovered little by little at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, at this moment, Uchiha Madara clearly saw that all 4-1's forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. If you don't come to provoke me, subverting the hero is just around the corner. 33. Uchiha Madara walked slowly to a place dozens of meters in front of all 4-1 and stopped. HMPH, pretentious. All 4-1 snorted coldly, a white light flashed across his hand, and hundreds of stonefalls made of gravel hit Uchiha Madara. However, in the next moment, the gravel stopped directly in front of Uchiha Madara and instantly vanished. Let you see my true power, you're going to die anyway. The next moment, Uchiha Madara's Rinnegan swayed with ripples, and behind him, a huge golem slowly emerged. Afterwards, even though the golem dissipated, it turned into streaks of white light, flicked in front of Uchiha Madara, and slowly attached to him. Layers of white ripples appeared around, and the surrounding sand was washed away, and a white robe was draped over Uchiha Madara at some point. Various requests, the clothes were surrounded by 10 black spheres, and the body exuded pure and innocent white light, as if separated from the whole world. 10 Tails Jinchuriki. Uchiha Madara slowly opened his eyes. These strange eyes made all 4-1 feel extremely stiff. This power made him not have any thoughts of resisting with Bunsheng. This, what the hell are these quirks? All 4-1 gritted his teeth and said with difficulty. Advertisement. In front of Uchiha Madara, the powerful is suffocating, and the powerful is terrifying. At this moment, he suddenly realized that perhaps, he and the young man in front of him are not on the same level at all. But, where the hell did he come from? All 4-1 can't figure it out. Ahead, Uchiha Madara's hand lightly touched the air, and a black bead flew into the sky. Pieces of gravel slowly rose within a few thousand meters around, rushing towards the black beads in the sky. A huge meteorite hundreds of meters wide slowly formed and stopped in the sky. Because of the excitement, all 4-1's body was trembling slightly. In fact, smashing those meteorites just now has consumed most of his physical strength. Now such a huge meteorite, even if it is 10 himself, it is difficult to resist. All 4-1, the last thing you should do is to anger me. A sharp look flashed across Uchiha 620 Madara's eyes. Black beads rolled around his body, Rinnegan turned, his fingers were gently raised, and countless thunderlights rolled. Zizzizi. One after another electric snakes jumped in front of him, and the thunder light instantly began to split like a branch, and the thunder snakes churned in it. Sage Art. The Thunder Sect. 39. Boom. Lightning devoured all 4-1 One in an instant, and everything seemed to be enveloped by lightning. A circle of hooked jade appeared on the blood moon in the sky and then slowly turned. The surrounding scene slowly changed, returning to the familiar factory. However, at this moment, all 4. One was already lying on the ground, dying.
Cough cough. All 4. One raised his head with difficulty and looked at the hooded boy not far away, then his body froze, blood bleeds from his 7 orifices, and his vitality was completely cut off.
This sudden scene made All Might unable to react. Just a few seconds ago, All 4. One was still majestic, how could it suddenly die suddenly in the next second? All Might stepped forward suspiciously, and after confirming again and again that All 4. One was dead, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. He walked slowly towards Uchiha Madara and smiled brightly again. Thank you, my friend, justice, never be absent. Uchiha Madara slowly raised his head, glanced at All Might in front of him, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Chapter 132. Yaoyorozu Momo's Worries Advertisement. Tonight is doomed to be restless. The hero, and residents who watched the live broadcast were awake all night. The streets are full of police cars, ambulances and various law enforcement vehicles, dealing with chores left over after the battle. The next morning, in the room, Uchiha Madara, who had recovered his face, glanced at the news on the TV, then turned it off and walked to the mirror. In a sense, from today onwards, he will replace All 4. One and become a new generation of Dark Emperor. It's just that he still has a lot of things to do before he can become a real Dark Emperor. Dong dong dong. Just as Uchiha Madara was thinking about what to do next, there was a knock on the door of the room. Uchiha Madara was slightly startled. He can be said to be under the protection of the police now, who came to find him in such a sensitive period. He slowly opened the door and saw Yaoyorozu Momo standing at the door. He was instantly relieved and said softly, "What's wrong?" Yaoyorozu Momo slowly raised her 620 head, revealing her red eyes and bloodshot eyes, which made Uchiha Madara feel heartbroken. "Hey, let's go in and have a chat, okay?" Uchiha Madara looked around, looked at the policeman hiding around the corner, nodded, let Yaoyorozu Momo enter the room, and closed the door. The surrounding policemen watched the scene, but were only slightly stunned and did not report it. They had long known that Uchiha Madara and Yaoyorozu Momo were neighbors, and it was normal for them to stop by. The two walked into the living room side by side, and then Uchiha Madara strode into the kitchen and asked, "What's there to drink?" Advertisement. Yaoyorozu glanced at Uchiha Madara with complicated eyes, shook his head, and sat quietly and restrained on the sofa. "Orange juice then." Uchiha Madara smiled, walked out of the kitchen with 2 glasses of orange juice in hand, and placed it in front of her. "Various requests, what are you looking for?" Uchiha Madara sat on the sofa, took a sip of orange juice, looked at Yaoyorozu Momo, and asked softly. Yaoyorozu Momo's expression was a bit bitter. She rubbed for a while, raised her head, and stared straight at Uchiha Madara's eyes. "What did you mean by that?" Uchiha Madara had long expected that she would come to ask herself these questions, but Uchiha Madara did not intend to hide anything. "It means literally." Hearing this, Yaoyorozu Momo's pupils shrank, stood up in horror, and scolded, "You are fighting against the hero, and the whole world, you know?" Hearing this, Uchiha Madara quietly looked at Yaoyorozu Momo and did not speak. "Are you crazy? Do you know what you are doing?" Yaoyorozu Momo frowned, but because of the police outside, she controlled her volume very well. "I know what I'm doing, I'm sober." Uchiha Madara stared at Yaoyorozu Momo's eyes with unprecedented seriousness. "Actually, to a certain extent, I agree with Stain's thinking, but I do not deny that his thinking is too extreme. 35. In today's society, do you really think it's beautiful and peaceful?" Uchiha Madara approached step by step. Yaoyorozu Momo retreated step by step, until she had nowhere to go, and her back was completely against the wall. "Hero, doesn't look like hero, There are so many criminals, and the crime rate is terribly high. You might as well think about it. What does the word, hero, mean?" Yaoyorozu Momo was taken aback by Uchiha Madara's aura, coupled with Uchiha Madara's slightly intimate movements. She, was completely stunned, speechless. "Hero, people have the ambition to rise above the clouds, swallow mountains and rivers with rage, take the amount of Kyushu in their stomachs, hold the mind of the 4 seas, shoulder justice, save the people from fire and water, and relieve the people from hanging." 5. How many people in today's society can afford the word, hero, All Might, Aizawa Sensei, and many, many others? Yaoyorozu Momo couldn't help but retorted. Advertisement, what about the others? Uchiha Madara doesn't deny them, but apart from them, the rest of the hero, are just doing police work and have no self-awareness that hero, should have. But they are good people. Yaoyorozu Momo pushed Uchiha Madara away. "What do you want to do? Kill them?" 39. Various requests, I'm just maintaining the order of this society. Uchiha Madara put his hands on Yaoyorozu Momo's shoulders subconsciously. "But you killed someone, and what you did is wrong." If there were no police at the door, she really wanted to shout this sentence out. "Then I'll ask you." Uchiha Madara took a deep breath. "The 2 people I killed, were they good people?" "Even so, it shouldn't kill people." Yaoyorozu Momo had tears in his eyes. "Madara, I'm scared, you know." 35. "I am afraid that you will become ruthless. I am afraid that you will go astray, and I am even more afraid that you will become an enemy of the whole world in the future. I know that you are very strong, and I don't want to ask more, but I don't want to watch you be with the darkness from now on." Large drops of crystal tears slowly flowed down Yaoyorozu Momo's cheeks, and at the end, she almost choked. I'm even more afraid that you won't know when. Thinking of the scene where Uchiha Madara beheaded all 4-1 and Tamura Shigaraki yesterday, Yaoyorozu Momo was terrified. Today is all 4-1 and Tamura Shigaraki. What about tomorrow? The day after tomorrow? Someday a strong man will appear to kill Uchiha Madara. This is what Yaoyorozu Momo is most afraid of happening. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara couldn't bear it any longer, hugged Yaoyorozu Momo in his arms, and comforted softly, it's alright. I'll be fine. Uchiha Madara squeezed his hands a little, giving Yaoyorozu Momo a solid feeling. I swear, I will not follow in the footsteps of Tamura Shigaraki and all 4-1, I will change the world in my own way. But before that, please give me a moment and trust me, okay? Kindness. 33 After a long silence, Yaoyorozu Momo buried his head in Uchiha Madara's arms and spoke in a low voice. Chapter 133. New life advertisement time passed slowly, and before you knew it, it was already noon. Under the comfort of Uchiha Madara, Yaoyorozu Momo's mood stabilized a little, but his eyes were slightly red. For lunch, it was Uchiha Madara's hands of course. Yaoyorozu Momo has seen the craftsmanship of Uchiha Madara, although it is not as good as those chefs in the restaurant, but overall it is not bad. After eating, seeing that Yaoyorozu Momo had returned to normal, Uchiha Madara took out a piece of white paper and wrote painting on it. Driven by curiosity, Yaoyorozu Momo leaned over and looked puzzled. What are you doing? Uniform. Uchiha Madara handed Yaoyorozu Momo the white paper and smiled. Can you help me with this? Uniform. Yaoyorozu Momo took the blueprint from Uchiha Madara's hand and looked at it carefully. Did you organize it? Yaoyorozu Momo said awkwardly. N. Uchiha Madara nodded, not denying it. Can. Yaoyorozu Momo put the drawing down gently, and then kept thinking about various chemical equations in his mind. For a long time, looking at the robe with red auspicious clouds lying on the sofa, a smile crossed the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth. Yaoyorozu picked up one of the clothes, observed it for a long time, and said softly, this clothes is quite nice. That's natural. Uchiha Madara picked up a robe, flicked it lightly, and put it on his body with ease. The slender black robe with a high neckline and a few blood-red clouds printed on it made Uchiha Madara full of mystery. Striking, yet terrifying. Yaoyorozu Momo was sitting on the sofa, looking at Uchiha Madara's handsome profile. A smile gradually appeared on his face. It's still quite handsome. Thank you for the compliment. Uchiha Madara gently scratched Yaoyorozu Momo's nose, then took off his clothes and smiled, thank you. Yaoyorozu Momo's little face flushed instantly. She hurriedly turned her head away, not daring to look into Uchiha Madara's eyes. Various requests, what's the matter? Uchiha Madara asked knowingly, suddenly becoming playful. Well, it's time for me to go home. My parents are still worried. At the same time as he spoke, Yaoyorozu Momo's little face became more and more red, and then he left Uchiha Madara's house as if he was running away. Advertisement. Anyway, it's fine. Looking at Yaoyorozu Momo's energetic back, Uchiha Madara smiled. In the afternoon, Uchiha Madara and the students of Shongying Academy also received a notice from Shongying Academy. The academy has a week off for refurbishment. At the same time, Shongying Academy also issued a restraining order. All students can only stay at home and are not allowed to go out. If there is any special matter, they can come to the school to deal with it. The students of Shongying Academy need to be groomed, and of course Dabi and Himiko Toga also need to be groomed. In addition to grooming, what they need most at the moment is training. If nothing else, their quirks are very strong, and what they lack now is the ability to fight. In the eyes of Uchiha Madara, they are simply rookies, so it is necessary to take the time to train well. After all, the members of the Shao organization cannot be too weak. And all this, Uchiha Madara is naturally to Kurogiri to do. As for money, it's not an issue at all. Uchiha Madara has been an otaku for a few days, but on the third day, the peace was broken. Boom boom boom, at noon, there was a knock on the door. Uchiha Madara put on his slippers and opened the door tiredly. Yo, long time no see, Madara boy. Uchiha Madara rubbed his eyes and took a closer look. Standing at the door were Aizawa Shoda and All Might. At this moment, both of them are wearing suits and leather shoes, which is very formal. Madara classmate, we are visiting our house, Aizawa Shoda said seriously. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara couldn't help laughing. Why is this scene so familiar? I'm an orphan. You come to visit my house. What are you visiting? Hearing the familiar words, All Might was a little embarrassed. How about we go in and talk? 35. Advertisement Aizawa Shoda on the side couldn't help turning his head away, looking at All Might's strange expression. He was a little puzzled. What's wrong with you? 0. For flowers, ahem, nothing. Let's go first. All Might stepped forward, leaving only Aizawa Shoda with a handsome back. Various requests, that's it, Madara boy. All Might came to the living room with ease, sat down and said solemnly. For some special reason, we plan to carry out a boarding system, which means that you will live in Shongying Academy for a long time in the future. So, 33 Aizawa Shoda sat next to All Might and chimed in, about living on campus, do you agree? I agree, so simple. Aizawa Shoda raised his eyebrows. In fact, he was still a little worried about Uchiha Madara. Point 0. It's just living on campus, it's not a big deal. 35 Uchiha Madara walked out of the kitchen and put the 2 glasses of juice in her hand on the coffee table. Besides, I'm actually quite boring by myself. Wouldn't it be much more lively if I lived with my classmates? Aizawa Shoda narrowed his eyes slightly. If this guy lived on campus, there might be some special circumstances. But Xiangying has had such a big thing and is in a sensitive period, he must not be treated differently. Understood. Aizawa Shoda stood up and drank the juice on the table. If that's the case, then I won't bother.
All Might also dried up the juice on the table and licked his lips in a daze.
However, Uchiha Madara keenly noticed that All Might looked at him in a strange way. I wish you a happy campus life in advance, classmates. All Might smiled, then, together with Aizawa Shoda, turned around and walked out the door. After confirming that all the students agreed to live on campus, Xiangying College started the construction of the dormitory building. In just 2 days, buildings rose from the ground, and the brand new dormitory buildings seemed to have taken shape. On the other hand, 2 days before the opening of Xiangying Academy, the police also evacuated all the police forces ambushing at the door of Uchiha Madara's house. A new life begins. 10,000 Chapter 134, The First Step Plan. Advertisement. After discussion, Uchiha Madara and Yaoyorozu Momo came to the school a day earlier with big suitcases. However, it turned out that the classmates of Class A completely wanted to go together. At this moment, almost all the students of Class A gathered at the gate of the school. Uchiha-san. Ida raised a hand. How have you been recently? After all, Uchiha Madara, who was under police surveillance, was not able to participate in the rescue operation a week ago. He must be feeling guilty, right? A rare vacation. Uchiha Madara smiled. I haven't slept so well in a long time. That's good. Ida nodded lightly. Everyone go and pack up and get ready to move in. 35. Oh, it must be said that Xiangying's financial resources are very strong, and the smooth floor tiles on the ground reflect the dazzling sunlight in the sun. The surrounding lights of June 20th are transparent, and they all reveal the atmosphere of the atmosphere, just like a 5-star hotel. I heard Mr. Aizawa say that everyone is a single room, and men and women live separately, with boys on one side and girls on the other. 99. Yaoyorozu Momo is obviously very familiar with the environment here, pointing around and introducing to Uchiha Madara. I'll go first. Yaoyorozu Momo waved to Uchiha Madara, then turned and walked towards the girls' dormitory. Kindness. Uchiha Madara came all the way out of his room and then pushed open the door. The outside world is magnificent, but the inside world is simple and makes people think that they're two worlds. Looks like you've been busy. Uchiha Madara put down all her luggage, clapped her hands, and looked energetic. Various requests. Xiangying Academy seems to cultivate the students' hands-on ability, so students are only allowed to do the interior decoration themselves, and they are not allowed to find a decoration company. For Uchiha Madara, it also seems to have a different charm. Everyone was busy, and only Uchiha Madara arranged the room at the fastest speed and then came downstairs. Advertisement. At this moment, the teachers of Xiangying Academy are all in a meeting, and it is also during the holiday time, so the place looks very empty, and there are basically no people in sight. Tomorrow is the real school start time. After getting everything in order, Uchiha Madara glanced at the girls' dormitory, then turned around and left the school. Uchiha Madara soon returned home and took out all the uniforms that Yaoyorozu created in the cupboard. The next second, a purple portal appeared in front of Uchiha Madara. Are you all ready? Yes, master. On the other side of the portal, came the voice of Kurogiri. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara nodded lightly and stepped into the portal without hesitation. Yeah, Kurogiri, you're finally back. What are you doing? Before leaving the portal, Uchiha Madara heard Himiko Toga's voice. Life is good. Uchiha Madara lifted his foot out of the portal and looked towards the source of the sound, in the direction of Himiko Toga. Madara. Seeing the person coming, Himiko Toga had an abnormal flush on both sides of his cheeks. If it wasn't for Dabi pulling her, she would have rushed forward. This is a huge hilltop villa, covering a very wide area, somewhat similar to the place where the nobles lived in the Middle Ages. Although it is a villa, in fact, it is not an exaggeration to say that it is a castle. There is also a circle of well-tended gardens around the villa, and bursts of fragrance waft out from time to time, which is refreshing. The furniture in the room is all European style, and the floor is covered with red carpet, which is very valuable at first sight. Various requests. This is your uniform. Uchiha Madara put the black ground red cloud run on the sofa. Uniform. Dabi was stunned. He never thought about what uniform he would wear to join the organization. Wow, I like it. Twice jumped forward, picked up the uniform, and sucked. Black, 99. Can I wear this? The muscular man picked up his uniform and weighed it, with a strange expression on his face. This is obviously too small. Don't worry, it's your size. Uchiha Madara pulled out one of the oversized uniforms and handed it to the muscular man. Can I not wear it? For some reason, Dabi was a little disgusted. Advertisement. No. Uchiha Madara's eyes flashed scarlet, because this is the first step for the world to know us. Hearing Uchiha Madara's words, Himiko Toga's eyes were full of admiration, and even the corners of his mouth had a faint spark of saliva flowing out. First of all, the first question is, what is the crime rate in this society? After everyone was dressed, Uchiha Madara walked to the front, carrying his hands on his back, and asked. I didn't notice. It seems that the government doesn't have an accurate statistic, but in general, it's still quite high at 0. Twice raised a hand and answered first. Then our first step, Uchiha Madara stretched out a finger, is to rid this society of criminals. 99. Purge. Dabi was keenly aware of Uchiha Madara's words. Boss, you mean purge? Of course. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara's mouth curled slightly, and he raised his hand to wipe his neck. Can you kill someone? Himiko Toga's cheeks were as red as a big apple, and his saliva was drooling. Of course. Uchiha Madara smiled slightly, and, whatever method you use. Awesome. Himiko Toga smirked, eyes full of madness, I can't wait to see them covered in scars. But remember, those who are purged are limited to criminals. Uchiha Madara reminded again and again. What should I do if I encounter Hero? S? The fraudster tilted his head slightly. With a look of excitement, Himiko Toga leaned forward and asked, Hey, can we kill them together? Various requests, permanently eliminate quirks. This kind of thing really exists. Dabi frowned slightly, with such a thing in hand, I am afraid it is enough to subvert the entire society. You can try it yourself. Uchiha Madara sat on the seat in front, leaning back slightly, leaning back. The elimination of quirks potion 3.6. Uchiha Madara handed the potion to Twice, then took out a dozen more from his pocket and distributed them to the crowd. Immediately added, permanent period and effective immediately is much more useful than all. 4. 1. In 3 days, I hope you can make some achievements. Uchiha Madara stretched out 3 fingers, in addition, it is best to leave a mark on the scene. Understood. Himiko Toga's eyes seemed a little blurry, she looked at Uchiha Madara with admiration, I really look forward to the day when the world sees Madara big. This is, out of curiosity, Twice ran to Uchiha Madara with a hint of excitement in her eyes. Let's see if they're real hero, first, if not. Uchiha Madara took out a blue potion, put this into him. 5. Chapter 135. The bloody beginning advertisement. Those potions that eliminated quirks were naturally exchanged by Uchiha Madara from the system. And the price is ridiculously cheap, a little energy point can actually be exchanged for 10 tubes of medicine. And from the moment Uchiha Madara killed all 4. 1, the energy points in the system increased by 3,000. That night, Uchiha Madara came to Yui Academy and went to bed early, and did not participate in the dormitory tour hosted by Ida and the others. And tonight, it is destined to be restless. Blood and slaughter filled the streets, staining the entire city with a strange blood red. That night, all those who carried out criminal activities were killed by Dabi and others. And at the crime scene, a red auspicious cloud was left behind. 67 people died in one night, 33 in the police station. The round-statured chief sipped his coffee while looking at the documents handed over by his subordinates. Are you sure? The police chief put down the coffee in his hand with a look of disbelief. Is this a famine or a virus? Yes. The policeman from the next O5 party said with a cautious face, and handed a photo to the director, and a red cloud is carved on the body of each victim. Red cloud? Xiangyun? The police chief looked at the red auspicious cloud in the photo and frowned. Any clues? At present, we don't know much information, and we can only judge that this is the work of a criminal gang. In addition, the police officer Tsunachi suspects that this is the masterpiece of the guy from a week ago. Hearing this, the director rubbed his temples with a headache, and then put on a pained expression. Have you notified Hero? S. The guy from a week ago who killed the guy who could stand up to All Might in an inexplicable way is unbelievable. And, the police department doesn't know anything about him, which is definitely a tricky guy. Notice, All Might, Endeavor and Death Fist have rushed to the scene. You guys also go to the scene to have a look, and report any news at any time. Yes. Advertisement. Various requests. Good morning. Good morning everyone. Ah, it's so delicious. At 7 o'clock in the morning, after Uchiha Madara finished washing up, he came to the cafeteria downstairs. Before entering the door, he heard a loud noise inside. Madara tilde operator. Yaoyorozu Momo saw Uchiha Madara from a distance and hurriedly waved to him, come and sit together. N. Uchiha Madara nodded, and after buying the noodles, he sat down with Yaoyorozu Momo, Midori Izuku, and Ida. How was life in the dormitory? Did you sleep well last night? Ida, who was the monitor, made another mistake. The first day of living on campus was surprisingly good. Yaoyorozu Momo scooped a large spoonful of cereal into his mouth, showing a satisfied smile. Seeing Yaoyorozu Momo returning to her previous appearance, Uchiha Madara was also secretly relieved. Then, what about Uchiha-san and Midori Giyu-san? Ida's serious look looked a little funny. Well, I slept well. Izuku Green Valley clenched his fist with his right hand, full of energy. I have to work hard in the future. I'm the same everywhere. Uchiha Madara took a mouthful of ramen. I don't recognize the bed anyway, so I can sleep anywhere. It's strange, I didn't see All Might today. Izuku Midori held the chopsticks and didn't do anything for a long time. According to the habit he had developed before, Izuku Green Valley started the morning exercise early, but he almost ran all over the campus without seeing All Might. Speaking of which, it seems that many teachers didn't come today. Ida involuntarily took out her mobile phone and began to search. It is indeed a bit abnormal. As soon as the phone was turned on, Ida was stunned. What's wrong? Yaoyorozu Momo keenly sensed that something was wrong with Ida, and hurriedly asked. Last night. Ida looked strange. I think I know why the teachers are not at school, but you should see for yourself. 99. Advertisement. What happened? It's so mysterious. Yaoyorozu Momo frowned slightly, then took out his phone and clicked on the news. Various requests. The next second, Yaoyorozu Momo's pupils shrank suddenly. Uchiha Madara was still eating ramen, unmoved, but Green Valley Izuku, who was on the side, was very curious, and also took out his mobile phone and started searching. This. Yaoyorozu Momo's hand holding the phone trembled slightly, he raised his head subconsciously, and looked at Uchiha Madara. The homepage of the news network is the news that 67 criminals were killed last night. The official room has released photos of the victims and various crimes committed before, and under their photos, there is a red auspicious cloud. Others do not recognize this symbol, but Yaoyorozu Momo clearly knows who is responsible for all this. After all, the uniform of the Shao organization came from her.
What's wrong? Green Valley Izuku noticed Yaoyorozu Momo's strangeness and asked with a concerned face, are you feeling unwell?
Nothing. 620. Yaoyorozu Momo took a deep breath, put down the spoon in his hand, and lowered his head, as if he didn't dare to meet Uchiha Madara's eyes. Students Uchiha and Yaoyorozu Wan are weird. Are they quarreling? Ida guessed randomly. Is it classmate Uchiha? Just when everyone was wondering, a police officer in uniform came to Uchiha Madara at some point and asked. The wealthy and the wealthy are indeed a good match. After all, Uchiha Madara and Yaoyorozu Momo are very close, which is almost a well-known thing in Shongying Academy. It's me. Uchiha Madara raised his head and looked at him. Is there something wrong? That's right, about what happened a week ago, our police department would like to ask you to assist in the investigation. And killing 67 people in one night, what does he want to prove? Stain is already dead a long time ago. Who did this? Green Valley Izuku looked at the news in his hand and thought quickly in his mind. Green Valley Izuku kept guessing, and the muttering in his mouth almost never stopped. Could it be the guy from a week ago? Green Valley Izuku frowned and shook his head gently, but he moved too fast. Chapter 136. All Might's Guess advertisement? Police station? Assist in the investigation? Uchiha Madara looked at the young police officer who appeared out of nowhere. Specifically, when we go to the police station, we will naturally explain to Uchiha-kun. While speaking, the police station made a please gesture. Yaoyorozu Momo grabbed Uchiha Madara's hand almost subconsciously, and the worry in his eyes was particularly evident. After all, among all the people here, she can be said to be the only one who knows the truth. It's okay. Uchiha Madara comforted softly, caressing the back of Yaoyorozu Momo's hand with his left hand, then stood up and walked out of the cafeteria with the young policeman. What's wrong? In fact, from the moment they saw the police, Ida and Izuku Midori were almost in a state of confusion, and it was only just now that they were able to react. Nothing will happen, right? Green Valley Izuku looked in the direction where Uchiha Madara left, unable to regain his senses for a long time. Probably not. Yaoyorozu Momo drank all the milk in the bowl, got up and left with the plate. Ida and Midori Izuku looked at each other and said almost in unison, probably not. At 8:25 in the morning, the police station. Yo, you're finally here, Uchiha boy. As soon as he entered the door, Uchiha Madara heard the voice of All Might. Sitting in an office at the police station, All Might saw the arrival of the Uchiha squad. He stood up and nodded slightly to the young policeman beside Uchiha Madara. The young policeman stood there and saluted All Might before handing Uchiha Madara to him and turning away. Come in, kindness. Advertisement led by All Might. Uchiha Madara came to the office of the Commissioner of Police. Various requests. Hello, Uchiha, let me introduce myself. My name is Sutoda, and I am the director of this police station, 35. I have to say that this police chief is not official at all. Although he looks a little fat, he has a good impression on Uchiha Madara. Sorry, I brought you here on my own initiative. All Might pulled out a wooden stool and motioned for Uchiha Madara to sit down. If you have something to say, let's talk. Don't you have class today? Uchiha Madara sat on the stool with a puzzled look on her face. Then I won't detour. All Might sat next to Uchiha Madara, nodding to the police chief, Sutoda. Tushin's secretary understood, turned on the computer, and then clicked on one of the files. The stuff in the file is a video of the fight between Senju Hashirama, All. 4. 1 and All Might a week ago. I saw you spit fire out of your mouth before at the Hungay Sports Festival. Mr. Toda adjusted the video and turned the big screen to Uchiha Madara. At the moment, on the big screen, there is a video of Senju Hashirama, making marks on his hands, spitting out a flame from his mouth, and surrounding Tamura Shigaraki and the others. This way of printing, I slowed down the speed and made repeated comparisons. Sutoda looked at Uchiha Madara solemnly. The answer is that the two of you have the exact same way of tying your seals, 55. All Might on the side explained, of course, we don't doubt you. After all, I'm not stupid enough to believe that a teenage boy can beat All. 4. 1. 66. 35. You are pretty stupid right now. Uchiha Madara pouted and couldn't help but complain in his heart. What do you want me to do? Uchiha Madara turned the screen back and raised Erlang's legs. Advertisement, as I asked the police officer to tell you before, to assist in the investigation, All Might said sternly. Various requests. Oh no, wait, are you mistaken? Uchiha Madara stood up and put his hands on the table in front of him. I'm still in school. Is it appropriate for you to have a student assist in the investigation? Backquote Uchiha boy. I have been thinking about a question for a long time. Just yesterday, I finally had a general answer in my heart. All Might stood up and looked at Uchiha Madara. If I'm right, you should have had systematic ninja training. 99. Young Uchiha, can you tell me who your master is? All Might looked sincere, as if he was quite convinced by his guess. Uchiha Madara's expression is a bit strange. All Might's guess is right. He is indeed a ninja, just a master. Sorry, I can't say that. Uchiha Madara shook his head. Then do you know him? Toda chimed in, pointing to Senju Hashirama on the screen. Yes. Mr. Toda didn't hide his guesses at all. Can you tell me whether All Might's guesses are correct or not? So you suspect this is what the guy from a week ago did? Uchiha Madara asked rhetorically. But Uchiha Madara frowned slightly, not expecting that All Might's brain hole is quite big, and he thought so much. Have you conducted systematic ninja training, and is there a ninja organization in this world? 9. This seems interesting. The way you fight, the power system you use, and your weapons are almost the same. If you say that the two of you have nothing to do with the kings, I absolutely don't believe it. 5. Tushin's secretary said with a serious face, just last night, a mysterious organization killed 67 citizens, you should know this. Chapter 137. One after another murder case advertisement. Yes. The corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled up secretly. In this world, there is a place called Ninja Country. Ninja Country. Hearing this, Tsuchida and All Might looked at each other, and both saw the doubts in each other's eyes. Immediately, All Might turned his gaze to Uchiha Madara, motioning him to continue. As the name suggests, the Ninja Kingdom is a place dedicated to cultivating ninjas, but the Ninja Kingdom is in the far west. It's just that the ninjas there are of poor quality. Uchiha Madara added mentally. That's all I can say. After all, I'm not from Ninja Country, so I can't reveal too much. Uchiha Madara said nonsense. You're not from Ninja Nation, so why? All Might seem to be going after him. According to the information in the system, Uchiha Madara was obviously born in Neon. However, why would he be associated with the Ninja Country? Seeing this, Uchiha Madara raised a hand and stopped. If you know more, you might as well go to the land of ninjas and ask. Do you know him? Toda asked again, pointing to the Senju Hashirama on the screen. 623. I don't know. Uchiha Madara shook his head. Hearing this, Mr. Tushin sighed. Although he already had the answer in his heart, the moment he heard it, the feeling was completely different. Student Uchiha, this is the hero's license you applied for. Sudoda suddenly opened the drawer, took out a small notebook, and handed it to Uchiha Madara. Ah! Uchiha Madara took the small notebook from Sudoda's hand, a little confused. That's fine, why did it suddenly involve the hero's license? Advertisement, Western. Seeing that Uchiha Madara seemed a little puzzled, Todaji explained, you won't forget it, will you? Various requests, I didn't forget, but you changed the topic too quickly. Uchiha Madara put away the small book. Is there anything else? No more. Mr. Tushin shook his head and said, I'm sorry for delaying you for so long, I'll ask my driver to take you back. Well, thank you. AFDG, Uchiha Madara will not refuse a free ride. After confirming that Uchiha Madara was gone, All Might sat down again. How? He's a good seedling, calm and reserved. Tushin's secretary said solemnly, are you sure he's okay? 90% sure. All Might nodded lightly, didn't you send someone to monitor him before? Chief Tushin shook his head, that can only mean that he didn't intervene in the battle a week ago. What I want is 100% certainty. 35. I understand. All Might nodded and said, I will observe him for a while. As for the Ninja Nation, I think it is more appropriate to leave it to the police. Well, it's hard work. Chief Tushin stood up and saluted All Might, the safety of the city is left to you. Don't worry. All Might showed a hearty smile, with me, everything will be fine. All Might came to me and asked about the ninja, what is he going to do? In the car, Uchiha Madara kept thinking about this question. Could it be? All Might suspects he is Senju Hashirama. With what he knows now, absolutely impossible. So now the only possibility is to suspect that he is with Senju Hashirama. Since the police department and Heroes have not yet started, it means that this matter is still in the stage of suspicion and has not been confirmed. Various requests, little brother, what is our director looking for you? Just as Uchiha Madara was thinking, the driver suddenly spoke. Advertisement. Uchiha Madara looked up, it's nothing, it's just a routine, then ask a few questions. Tisk tisk. The driver smacked his lips, since Uchiha Madara didn't want to say it, he didn't ask any more questions, so as not to make fun of himself. As soon as Uchiha Madara returned to school, Yaoyorozu Momo came up and looked nervous. Well, the police didn't embarrass you, right? Don't worry, I'm fine, am I fine? Uchiha Madara raised her hands and smiled. It scared me to death. Yaoyorozu Momo breathed a sigh of relief, I thought they. It's almost time for class, let's go first. Uchiha Madara interrupted Yaoyorozu Momo. Yaoyorozu Momo also realized that he had almost leaked his mouth, and nodded hurriedly, feeling scared for a while. The morning class is a theory class, led by Aizawa Shoda. The theory class was a bit boring, and many students were lethargic and completely unable to motivate. After all, yesterday was the first day of accommodation, everyone was in a state of excitement, and didn't fall asleep until the early morning. It seems that it is really necessary to turn off the lights on time. Although it was already daytime, the bloody killing continued. What? In the police station, Chief Toda shouted and stood up all of a sudden, with a shocked expression, it's only one morning, and there are 30 victims? Yes. The young police officer who just came to report was startled by Mr. Toda, and kept nodding like a chicken pecking at rice. Aren't these guys sleeping? It has now been preliminarily determined that the perpetrators are the people from the League of Villains before. The young policeman handed a document to Secretary Tushin. In addition, the video data has been uploaded to your computer. After the young policeman finished speaking, he saluted Mr. Tushin. In less than a day, nearly 100 people were killed. This is no longer a simple crime, Toda's secretary almost roared. Are these guys trying to subvert the entire society? Chapter 138. Intervention Advertisement. The afternoon class is a practical class. According to the class schedule, this class should be taught by All Might. However, it was not until 2:30 in the afternoon that everyone was notified that All Might was temporarily busy, so this class was changed to self-study. Although the police department tried their best to conceal these bloody cases, but unfortunately, the reporters were too powerful. In just 1 hour, the list of the 30 people who were killed this morning has been leaked out. What happened? Why did so many people die all of a sudden? In the classroom, Uraraka Ochako couldn't help shaking, and panic flashed in his eyes. But have you noticed that all they kill are criminals? Ashido Mina stared at the phone screen without blinking, and couldn't help muttering, "Don't you think this is pretty cool?" Hearing Ashido Mina's words, everyone's eyes instantly shifted to her. Feeling that there was something wrong with the atmosphere, Ashido Mina raised her head and smiled embarrassingly. Then, did I say something wrong? Student Ashido, this way of suppressing violence with violence is absolutely impossible. Ida raised the eyes on the bridge of her nose and said sternly. This will only cause more chaos to society. Bakugo Katsuki raised his head, his eyes grim. HMPH, this kind of scum, they should be killed. Let's leave this to the hero, so we don't have to participate. Aoyama Yuga, who was sitting in the back row, couldn't help but interject. We're just students, we can't get involved in this kind of thing. Green Valley. Izuku shook his head. Mr. Green Valley is right, all we can do now is to study hard and work hard to become a hero. Uraraka Ochako nodded with a serious look on his face. Various requests. At this moment, Uchiha Madara, who had been writing and writing, suddenly stood up and walked out of the classroom without looking back. Madara. Yaoyorozu Momo looked at Uchiha Madara's back and said softly, with a bad feeling in his heart. I'm going to the toilet and I'll be back in a while. Uchiha Madara turned slightly sideways, smiled at Yaoyorozu Momo, then turned and disappeared from everyone's sight. Advertisement in the toilet. Uchiha Madara's hands were sealed, a puff of smoke dissipated, and a shadow clone who looked exactly like him suddenly appeared beside him. At the same time, a purple portal appeared ahead, and Uchiha Madara's face had completely changed. Master. Kurogiri's voice came from the other side of the portal. How is the situation now? Uchiha Madara stepped into the portal, and everything in front of him changed quietly. Here is the top of the building. The sky is bright. Looking down from here, you can almost see the whole neon. Hero, shot. Kurogiri stood beside Uchiha Madara and said with a blank expression. At the same time as Kurogiri spoke, a transparent panel appeared in front of Uchiha Madara's eyes, and the energy value on it had reached 3,978. This is what Uchiha Madara discovered this morning. Every time Dabi and Himiko Toga kill a criminal, their energy value will increase by 10 points. All. 4. One's 3,000 points, plus the 10 points obtained from the previous decomposition, and the 97 criminals killed last night and this morning. After subtracting the one used to exchange the potion last night, there are still 3,978 energy points left. All Might didn't come to class, maybe he's dealing with this. Uchiha Madara turned his back to Kurogiri, as if talking to himself. Looking at the hordes of police cars below, Uchiha Madara's mouth curled slightly and jumped down from the building. Various requests. How's it going? In a dark alley, a uniformed policeman trotted forward. Catch one. A burly hero, came out of the chaotic alley, grabbing Himiko Toga with a blurred face, and his steps were a little vain. For Flower's advertisement at this moment, the hero, was covered with scars, and his face was a little ugly, obviously because of excessive blood loss. Seeing this, the leading policeman breathed a sigh of relief, and it was not in vain for them to stay here for more than 2 hours, and dispatch thousands of police forces and hero, which were almost 1/3 of all neon. Finally got some results. At this moment, Himiko Toga's state is not very good, and the wounds on his body are no less than that of the hero, as if he will faint at any time. Himiko Toga smiled madly, not caring about his current situation. This guy is a wanted man. An older policeman recognized Himiko Toga at a glance. Wanted criminal. The other young policemen were immediately stunned when they heard the older policeman's words. How could this look like a little girl? How could she be a wanted criminal? After all, Himiko Toga's information was not made public, so most of the police present did not know the truth. Hundreds of police officers, 10 hero, to catch a little girl. Uchiha Madara's faint voice came from behind the police, which seemed very discordant. Who? Hearing this sudden sound, everyone turned around almost at the same time, then took out the pistols around their waists and stood on guard. After seeing the faces of the people who came, everyone froze. It's you. The older policeman swallowed subconsciously and leaned his right hand behind him without leaving a trace. Uchiha Madara's eyes turned purple, his right hand was raised, and a huge suction force came out, directly sucking Himiko Toga over. The hero, who was holding Himiko Toga before looked at his hands, froze for a moment, then raised his head, his eyes full of horror. An existence that can compete with All Might, they are absolutely invincible. 1. Chapter 139. A brief fight advertisement. Madara is big. Himiko Toga looked at Uchiha Madara's handsome profile, and the redness of his cheeks became more obvious. Shish. Uchiha Madara raised her index finger and made a silent gesture. Don't call me that outside. I'm here. Just a few seconds after Uchiha Madara grabbed Himiko Toga, All Might's familiar voice came from the sky. Boss? Himiko Toga tilted his head slightly, with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Should I kill these police officers who get in the way? I said, if you do it, it's only for criminals. Uchiha Madara pulled Himiko Toga behind him and said without looking back. Kurogiri, send her back. Years, as soon as Uchiha Madara finished speaking, a purple portal appeared out of thin air. 623. Himiko Toga glanced at Uchiha Madara reluctantly, then turned and stepped into the portal. Boom. At the same time, the figure of All Might descended from the sky and landed firmly in front of Uchiha Madara. It's that portal again. Behind All Might, a young policeman gritted his teeth, with an expression of hating iron. If it wasn't for that purple portal, they would have brought the members of the Shao organization to justice. Shuyu's robe of red auspicious clouds fluttered in the wind, and Uchiha Madara wrapped her arms around her arms. You're really free, shouldn't you stay at Chongying for class at this time? 99. Enough, stop. Facing Uchiha Madara, the smile on All Might's face faded away. In the middle of the police, the burly hero, S, from before stepped forward and stood side by side with All Might. Looking at this hero, S, who was covered in scars, All Might frowned slightly, then quickly relaxed again, revealing a hearty smile. It's okay, you first find a safe place to hide and ask why. Because I'm here. As soon as All Might finished speaking, the police immediately stepped back in cooperation. In just a few seconds, the surroundings were already empty. After all, this is not something they can interfere with. Advertisement. Whoosh. 35. The figure of All Might instantly disappeared in place, with bursts of air braking, and attacked Uchiha Madara. From the previous battle, All Might knew that the opponent's strength was not strong, so melee attack was the best choice. Of course, this so-called power is not strong, only for All Might. Boom. Up front, Uchiha Madara passed All Might, whose right punch hit the ground, leaving a crater in place. Fire style. Great fireball technique. Uchiha Madara quickly formed a seal with both hands, spit out a huge fireball from his mouth, and at the same time his body quickly retreated. The fireball was extremely fast, instantly drowning the surrounding police cars. And the moment Uchiha Madara spewed a fireball from his mouth, All Might had come behind him and punched again. Boom. 35. However, All Might's right fist just touched Uchiha Madara, and Uchiha Madara's whole body turned into a white smoke and disappeared in place. What? With no trace of Uchiha Madara, All Might became nervous and searched everywhere. For Senju Hashirama, All Might knows almost nothing, and the unknown villains are often the most terrifying. Whoosh. 35. Uchiha Madara's figure flickered for a while, and then reappeared behind All Might, with ripples in his eyes. Shen Luo Tianzheng. Boom. A huge repulsive force radiated from the palm of Uchiha Madara's right hand. Because of this huge repulsive force, All Might almost sank to the ground, with only his upper body exposed. Various requests. Boom. All Might struggled a little and broke free, rubble splashing around, cracks all over the ground and buildings. Advertisement. If I'm not mistaken, you should be from the Ninja Kingdom. Thinking of what Uchiha Madara said in the morning, All Might couldn't help but ask. I don't know why, but he desperately needs an answer in his heart now. Hearing this, the corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth curled slightly. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there are people like me here, who knows? While speaking, Uchiha Madara folded his hands together, and the chakra gathered in his body. Boom. One after another, green vines emerged from the ground and attacked All Might. The figure of All Might jumped back and forth between the buildings, his hands were charged, and he almost smashed several vines with one punch, and the speed of clearing the vines was quite fast. Have you had enough trouble? All Might frowned slightly. He could clearly feel that the other party was just playing, not serious at all. A guy who can kill all. For one silently needs so many punches and legs. It's funny. Whoosh. The figure of Senju Hashirama instantly appeared in front of All Might. His eyes were still purple. What the hell are you trying to do? All Might looked at Uchiha Madara solemnly. As you can see, what I'm targeting is only the perpetrator, Uchiha Madara said calmly. Using violence to control violence. All Might laughed angrily. Your own behavior is a crime, don't you realize it? Uchiha Madara is like a loach. As soon as you catch it, it slips away, making you 3.6 not interested in fighting him again. But as the hero, S, All Might had to keep fighting him. You've been doing hero, S, for so many years, and you should realize that for criminals, fighting violence is the best way. Uchiha Madara smiled. All Might, you've been bound by the rules for too long, and at the same time it's limited your own strength development. It's time to change the rules of this society. Just as Uchiha Madara finished speaking, a purple portal suddenly appeared behind him. But even so, the one who changed the rules is definitely not you. Then we will wait and see. Uchiha Madara finished, smiled slightly, and stepped into the portal. Also, my name is Senju Hashirama. Chapter 140. Objectives, Provisional License. Advertisement, Madara is big. On the other side, just as Uchiha Madara stepped out of the portal, Himiko Toga rushed up and hugged him tightly. Kurogiri directly set the transmission location of the organization's base camp, which is the rather luxurious villa. Don't mess around. Uchiha Madara pulled Himiko Toga away and poked her on the forehead. People didn't mess around. Himiko Toga twisted his body, cheeks flushed, and took out a small vial of blood from his waist. Himiko Toga, who can change her appearance by drinking the blood of the other party, is also a wanted criminal in cases of continuous blood loss and death because of this. With this, I can go in and out of the cell freely. Himiko Toga's eyes were full of greed and longing, as if he was hoping for a compliment from Uchiha Madara. Before that, you still need to train your skills well. I can't guarantee that it will appear just right every time. 35. Madara is the best. I knew Madara would come to save me. Himiko Toga showed a morbid smile. 05. Kurogiri, she'll leave it to you. Uchiha Madara turned to look at Kurogiri. Understood. Luo, Madara big. Himiko Toga tilted his head and pouted. Don't you stay here for a while? 35. Treat the wound first, be careful of excessive blood loss. At the same time, All Might stood there watching the disappearing direction of Senju Hashirama, and squeezed his fists involuntarily. It's over. It's over? A young policeman asked suspiciously when he saw that there was no movement in front of him, and stuck his head out from behind. Well, it's over. All Might turned around, gave a hearty smile, and gave the police a thumbs up. The aftermath, please. N. The leading police officer stood up and nodded. It's hard work. As soon as the police finished speaking, All Might flew into the sky and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Various requests. In the afternoon, the students of Class A of Shangying College spent their time in self-study, which was quite boring. Advertisement. What the hell happened? In the classroom, Yaoyorozu Momo turned the pen, completely uninterested in studying. I think it has something to do with the murders last night and this morning. Ida raised the eyes on the bridge of her nose and analyzed it in a serious manner. I think so too. Kaminari Denki scribbled on the paper, lowered his voice, and said slowly, is it some kind of terrorist organization? It's only been less than a day, everything is still vague, we should not guess randomly. Yaoyorozu Momo, who has been silent all the time, said. You said. Aoyama Yuga secretly swallowed and said, will there be a lot of murders this afternoon? Cut. Alright, don't talk nonsense, it's just you crow's mouth. Ashido Mina gave Aoyama Yuga a big bang, no way. Brush. It's lively. At this moment, the door to the room was suddenly opened, and Aizawa Shoda with a decadent look walked into the classroom slowly, his eyes swept over everyone. Ashido Mina and Aoyama Yuga were stunned for a moment, and after reacting, they could only smile shyly. School is dismissed early today, and you won't be studying at night. You can go back to the dormitory now. Ah, everyone blinked. You look at me, I look at you, all look puzzled. That's it, disband. After Aizawa Shoda finished speaking, he left the classroom without looking back, not taking a cloud with him. 66. 99. Is the sun coming out from the west today? The atmosphere is not right. Kaminari Denki put down the pen in his hand and frowned. You said. Ashido Mina stepped forward with a smirk. Are we going to have a big adventure tonight? 9. Big adventure. Asui Suyu blinked. Go outside and see what's going on. It's better not to. Uraraka Ochako shook his head with a wry smile. I'll be scolded by the teachers. Advertisement. Be careful to lose your life. Tokiyami Fumikage suddenly interjected, but his eyes were still fixed on the textbook in his hand. Hearing this, Ashido Mina shrugged and raised a hand. Since you all disagree, then I give up. Let's go and eat. Kindness, various requests. For the next few days, Himiko Toga and his party continued to follow Uchiha Madara's orders, waiting for the time to kill in various parts of the city. The successive murders filled the hearts of the criminals with fear, but in just 3 days, the crime rate plummeted. It can be described as incredible. In addition, because Himiko Toga got the police blood, the criminals who were in prison were not spared. For a time, the whole society was in a panic, and the criminals who were stupid and eager to move all put away their careful thoughts and lived cautiously. At the same time, in just 3 days, with the dissemination of information and various random speculations and exaggerations, the Shao organization was almost known to the entire Neon people. Even abroad has received a lot of news, but it's alright, ask why, because I'm here. Oh. The morning passed quickly, and after the meal, everyone soon ushered in the practical combat class in the afternoon. Because of various reasons, after discussion, Shangying decided that the current goal of Class A in the first year of the Hero S division is to obtain a temporary license. All Might disappeared for 3 full days, and today, he finally returned to Shangying Academy and started teaching. Well, sorry, there's been a lot of things these days. All Might stepped onto the podium, revealing a big white fang. It was still a theory class in the morning. I don't know if it was because of the Shao organization. Aizawa Shoda had no energy all morning, and even made several low-level mistakes. Because of the arrival of All Might, the atmosphere in the classroom was immediately ignited. All Might, Chapter 142, join the investigation team. Advertisement. Under the arrangement of Aizawa Shoda and his party, everyone came to the platform just created by the cement company in an orderly manner, and began to think about their nirvana. Hi, Uchiha boy. Just as Uchiha Madara was about to step onto the platform, All Might suddenly stepped forward and raised his hand to greet him. All Might? Uchiha Madara stopped and looked at him suspiciously. Is something wrong? Well. All Might scratched his hair and smiled. I think you don't need the braiding nirvana, right? That's not necessarily true. I have a move that I would like to try. Uchiha Madara looked at his hands, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Rasengan, if you practice hard, you should be able to use it too, right? That's really an accident. All Might bent slightly and said solemnly, you have obtained the Hero S license of the West, so in a way, you are already a real Hero S 5. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara looked at him suspiciously. So, 623. All Might straightened up with a mysterious smile. Would you like to try the Hero S job? Hero S work. What do you mean, saving people? Of course not. All Might looked around and found that no one was paying attention to his side, and then whispered, it's about the recent murder. 99. 66. Shao organization. Exactly. Uchiha Madara looked at All Might with interest. This is not an ordinary case. Are you sure you want me to join? Maybe in this case, you are the most suitable person. All Might put a hand on Uchiha Madara's shoulder. Would you try it first? What about training? I am in charge. Hearing this, Uchiha Madara was speechless. Fortunately, he originally planned to intervene in the affairs of the police station because in this way, it would be more convenient for him to obtain information. Advertisement, okay. Uchiha Madara nodded, agreeing to All Might. Various requests, at 3:30 in the afternoon, the downtown police station. In 3 days, another 130 criminals were killed, of which 65 were killed in prison, accounting for half of them. However, compared to the previous one, the 130 victims in 3 days were really few. So now, while protecting the remaining criminals in the prison, the police are trying to find the base camp of the Shao organization. On the other hand, All Might took Uchiha Madara and sneaked out of the Heroic Academy, all the way to the police station. The chief of the police station that Uchiha Madara had met before was busy in the office, unaware of the arrival of Uchiha Madara and All Might. Cough cough. All Might raised a hand and coughed lightly, Director of Soil Fields? Huh? Hearing someone calling him, Tushin raised his head suspiciously, instinctively wanting to curse, but when he saw that it was All Might, he decisively stopped. All Might. Tsutoda hurriedly got up. Why are you here? Looking sideways, Tsuchida saw Uchiha Madara beside All Might. Why is Uchiha Madara here too? Remembering the previous conversation between the three of them, Todaji turned his gaze back to All Might, his brows, AFDG, slightly wrinkled. Could All Might want Uchiha Madara to deal with Senju Hashirama? No kidding, how could a teenage kid take this risk? How's it going? All Might doesn't explain why Uchiha Madara is here first. It's the same. Tsuchida shook his head and sighed in his heart. I can't find their base camp at all, and with Kurogiri there, we're destined to be unable to arrest them. And finally caught one of the wanted criminals, and was rescued by Senju Hashirama. Advertisement. Speaking of this, Tsutoda slammed a punch on the table, making no secret of the anger in his eyes. Various requests, young Uchiha. 35. All Might turned slightly and looked at Uchiha Madara beside him. Well, 55, Senju Hashirama, have you heard of this person? While speaking, there was anticipation in All Might's eyes. Perhaps, only ninjas know more about ninjas. This is one of the reasons why All Might brought Uchiha Madara to the police station. Senju Hashirama's words before, maybe, maybe not, maybe there are people like me here, is something All Might cares about. In this regard, he has a bold idea. The same person, could it be that Uchiha Madara? I haven't heard of it. Uchiha Madara shook his head. Toda C, who was on the side, looked at the two of them and frowned slightly. All Might, can't you imagine? Yes. All Might nodded and smiled, 100% sure. How about letting Uchiha join? 35. What about the two of you who are mute? Uchiha Madara looked at Toda's secretary and All Might in confusion. Okay. Mr. Toda sat back in his seat and began to read the documents. I respect your decision. Thank you. All Might nodded slightly, then patted Uchiha Madara's shoulder and smiled. Well, Uchiha boy, from today onwards, you will be with me. 5. Together. Uchiha Madara tilted his head slightly, fighting criminals? No, All Might shook his head, took Uchiha Madara's shoulders and turned to leave the police commissioner's office. Our target, or everyone's target, is the leader of the Akatsuki organization, Senju Hashirama, and their stronghold. Chapter 143. Conversation with All Might. Advertisement. Hearing All Might's words, the corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth twitched up secretly, but it quickly returned to normal. What do you want me to do? Resonance between ninjas. Only ninjas know more about ninjas, don't they? All Might laughed. So, I have a plan here. Do you want to hear it? 95. Appreciate further details. During the time when Uchiha Madara and All Might went to the police station, everyone has been training hard and dare not relax for a moment. Where's Madara? Because of being too involved, Yaoyorozu Momo didn't realize that Uchiha Madara was gone until now. Kirishima Eijiro, who was beside Yaoyorozu Momo, said, looks like I went out with All Might. Well, I heard that Uchiha-san has obtained a Hero's license, so maybe he went on a mission with All Might. Speaking of this, Kirishima Eijiro looked longing. Ah, I also want to get a Hero's license soon. Uchiha got the Hero's license. Where did you hear that? Kaminari Denki leaned over, looking curious. Well, it was told to me by my relatives at the police station. In fact, I don't know the specific situation very well. Kirishima Eijiro smiled shyly. That guy. Kaminari Denki clenched his fist with his right hand, gritted his teeth, and there were tears in the corners of his eyes. He just left us like that, or is he not a brother? Kaminari, Kirishima, Yaoyorozu-on, now is not the time to chat. The ethereal ghost suddenly appeared in front of the three people, startling them. Teacher, did Uchiha really get the Hero's license? Kaminari Denki asked, still not giving up. Mind yourself. The ethereal ghost stepped forward suddenly and gave Kaminari Denki a big bang. Ouch, Kaminari Denki clutched his head. I just asked. His doesn't mean it's yours. Rather than having such a mind to take care of other people's affairs, it's better to step up training and try to get a temporary license as soon as possible. Advertisement. Quote. Various requests. On the other side, All Might and Uchiha Madara sat on a small bench in the park and said, currently, the number of police officers dispatched by the government to resolve the Shao
Organization incident is 2000, and the number of hero S is 1000.
So many? Uchiha Madara blinked. The police were okay. It was shocking that Hero S dispatched 1,000 at once. Hero S is not a Chinese cabbage, and even the West, which has a high rate of strange people, does not have so many Hero S. The Neon government is bleeding profusely this time, basically dispatching all the Hero S, which is much bigger than dealing with all 4-1. It can be described as magnificent. Yeah, I thought that Senju Hashirama would stay in the dark and charge up, but I didn't expect that he would take the initiative to attack, and the time interval was so short. While speaking, All Might's body gradually deflated and returned to his scrawny appearance. You haven't seen me like this, have you? All Might laughed, because of some accidents, so. All 4-1? Uchiha Madara leaned back in the chair and said casually. Uchiha Madara also understood that All Might showed him this scrawny gesture as proof of honesty. But now, his time is over and we need to look forward. All Might raised his hand and pointed forward. Seeing that All Might was getting more and more off topic, Uchiha Madara couldn't help but reminded, what exactly is your plan? The police have stepped up surveillance, and once I find Senju Hashirama or other members of the Shao organization, I will know the situation as soon as possible. When the time comes, I will take you there as quickly as possible. Your task is to observe Senju Hashirama's moves, find a way to find his weaknesses, and then organize a report. 0 katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Does it resonate between ninjas? Uchiha Madara put his hands behind his head and laughed. I see. Advertisement, various requests, let's go patrol first. All Might stood up and was about to walk forward, but suddenly stopped. By the way, you said earlier that you have a move that you really want to try. Do you need me to guide you? All Might turned to his side and said proudly. He is the big hero, S, of Neon, and it is a very proud thing to have the guidance of the big hero, S. However, to All Might's surprise, Uchiha Madara rejected him without hesitation. No, Uchiha Madara shook his head, then skipped All Might and walked forward without looking back. All Might froze in place for a moment. After reacting, he strode up to catch up and came behind Uchiha Madara in 3 or 2 steps. You really don't think about it? No need. Uchiha Madara finished, then paused, but, All Might, can you get me some water polo, the good quality one? 5. Water polo? All Might blinked, a smile flashing in his eyes. You still play water polo even at this age? It's not for playing. Uchiha Madara's mouth twitched slightly. You'll know when the time comes. Don't disclose any news. All Might still didn't give up. Number 35. Oh, what a heartless brat. All Might sighed, then strode forward. Come with me, I know a place where the quality of water polo is particularly good. How did you know? Uchiha Madara took a few steps forward and walked side by side with All Might, smiling. Could it be that you also play water polo? Ha ha ha, what are you thinking? How could I possibly play this kind of thing? All Might put his hands on his hips and laughed boldly. It's just that this laughter is very inconsistent with his thin body. Chapter 144 The Great Sin Advertisement Chapter 144 The Great Sin. Uchiha Madara went looking for water polo with All Might at the moment. He's going to try water polo to see if it can help the case. After all, it is not so simple to capture Senju Hashirama. The detention center has now killed so many criminals, and they are all innocent. Although they have committed heinous crimes, after all, they are now under the law. He has been punished by the law and will be in prison forever. These innocent criminals should not have been sacrificed in prison for nothing. So Uchiha Madara felt that he should help All Might complete this task. It is better to solve this case as soon as possible, and to give justice to these dead innocent souls. Give them an explanation so that the family can feel at ease. So Uchiha Madara thought about using water polo to see if there was any way out. At this moment, the two of them chatted while walking on the busy street. I kept looking around at 627 to see if there were any water polo sellers. Uchiha Madara and the two of them walked for a long time without any gain. At this moment, Uchiha Madara looked at All Might who was walking in front of him with angry eyes and stopped. Uchiha Madara thinks this guy is kidding himself. Obviously he knows there is a water polo somewhere. But after walking for such a long time without any gain, are you walking your legs? Uchiha Madara was a little angry. All Might walked leisurely in front, unaware that Uchiha Madara had stopped. At this moment, he said as he walked, Stinky boy, I'd like to see how you use the water polo to solve this case. I'm suddenly curious now. After All Might said this, he waited for Uchiha Madara's answer as he walked. After waiting for a few seconds at this moment, any words appeared in his ears. He suddenly stopped and looked back. Uchiha Madara stood not far behind him and had already stopped. Advertisement and the expression on his face was so vicious, All Might saw Uchiha Madara's expression. His face was full of surprise and curiosity, and he also stopped. I don't know what happened to Uchiha Madara, why he stopped, and there is such a weird expression on his face. All Might looked at Uchiha Madara like this at this moment.
All Might frowned, very helpless and a little aggrieved.
Because he felt that he was okay, it was normal for Uchiha Madara to follow him to find Senju Hashirama's whereabouts. What happened to this little guy at this moment? All Might thought of this, his eyes were a little confused and a little surprised. Looking at Uchiha Madara who was standing not far from him, he said to him. What's wrong with the stinky boy? Why don't you stand where you are? What's wrong? Aren't you going to look for the water polo? Why don't I take you there? Didn't you say it just now, and you regretted it again, didn't you? After All Might finished saying this, he also stood where he was and didn't go back. Uchiha Madara didn't answer when he heard his words, and still stood there unresponsive. The expression on his face was still so angry and so tangled. He didn't even know what the moment was. Uchiha Madara feels that sometimes she is in a particularly abnormal mood. His character has been changing ever since he entered the Hero's Academy. No longer as peaceful as before, I always feel that I have a dual personality hidden in my heart. All Might has been standing in place at this moment, feeling that Uchiha Madara seems to have a lot of thoughts. Why is the expression on his face so angry? I didn't offend him, and I didn't say anything. What happened to this guy? Why did the emotional fluctuations react so strongly? So All Might was a little anxious. Although he didn't go back at this moment, he felt that Uchiha Madara seemed to have a lot of troubles, so he didn't think it should be. Uchiha Madara is usually very enthusiastic, very lively and cheerful. How can such a state appear? I feel a little strange. Seeing that Uchiha Madara didn't answer at this moment, All Might was very anxious. A look full of anxiety appeared on his face, and said to Uchiha Madara again. I said how you stinky boy, why are you so emotional? What about volatility? What's wrong? Don't want to go hunting for water polo? Ah, I know why. Do you want to give up? And I feel a little timid, so I don't want to go with me. If that's the case, then you can say something. Why be so angry? Advertisement. All Might try to PS off Uchiha Madara with a dash at this moment and see what this guy has to say. Because All Might knows that Uchiha Madara is not such a cowardly person at all, and he will not be so afraid. Because he has obtained the Hero's license, it proves that Uchiha Madara is not the same as he used to be, and has the Hero's qualification to solve various cases. And after successfully graduating, you don't need to go to training anymore, you can also leave the training camp automatically. Because now All Might knows that the child is free enough to control his time freely, and he doesn't have to be as rigid as before, always restricted by Hero's Academy. But All Might still wondered in his heart, what is this little guy today? Why is this anger, such annoyance? Did he offend him? Why was he so angry that he still stood in place and didn't want to go looking for water polo with himself? Did he really regret it? Or had another idea, or he was really timid, but All Might felt that it was unlikely to be zero. This guy is usually full of fighting spirit, and he is extremely daring. He is full of powerful energy, just like a warrior full of fighting spirit. He will never admit defeat. His spirit All Might has seen him, so he feels that Uchiha Madara will not refuse to solve this case with himself because of cowardice. Such a thing would never happen, as All Might knows about Uchiha Madara, knowing that he is full of positive energy and is especially powerful. He also wants to help all people with a righteous heart, and wants to eliminate justice for those souls who died unjustly, and seek an explanation. But at this moment, All Might is indeed a little confused. I don't know what Uchiha Madara is thinking. Why is there such an expression? After saying this sentence at this moment, there is no answer or reaction. It's not the same as when he was at Hero's Academy. How come he has completely changed his attitude since he came out? What is this guy thinking? Don't you really want to investigate the case with yourself? If you don't want to, then just talk directly and go back to the house. Why do you stand here stupidly and don't leave? Uchiha Madara just doesn't want to talk at this moment. Sometimes his character is very stubborn. I feel really incredible. When I became so timid and afraid of death, this is not my style at all, nor is it my own **X. He is no longer like the society he used to be, and he is very easygoing, and he will not be as independent as he is now, and there are quirks like this. Just like at this moment, after walking for a long time, he didn't find the neutrality of the water polo. After Uchiha Madara heard these words at this moment, a sinister smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he looked at All Might with contempt. Sometimes my character is very stubborn, and sometimes my thoughts are very stubborn, and I feel like I have a special opinion. But at this moment, he knew that All Might must have misunderstood, and felt that he was cowardly and timid in 3.6. All Might dared to think of himself like this. Uchiha Madara felt helpless, and at this moment, looking at All Might, he was even more angry, but he just didn't want to speak. He has such a temper sometimes, and is extremely stubborn, and no one can stop him from this behavior. Sometimes Uchiha Madara also thinks that after coming to this Hero's Academy for some unknown reason, it has become another mode. Chapter 145 Advertisement Chapter 145 But there is no way, everyone is constantly growing and improving. But Uchiha Madara now feels that he is in very good shape. At least you have the ability to dominate and lead your own thoughts, and you don't need to be at the mercy of others anymore. At this moment, I was a little annoyed. After hearing All Might's words, I was even more angry. Does this guy look down on himself? Uchiha Madara also knew that All Might was clearly irritating himself, and only said so when he was testing himself. When did he become so timid? Not his own quirks at all, nor his own style, but Uchiha Madara just doesn't want to leave here at this moment. After all, after walking for more than half an hour, I didn't see any trace of the water polo. With this strength and extra time, I would think of another countermeasure. Because Uchiha Madara also knew in his heart that he suddenly thought of the role of water polo, it was just a whim.
I didn't think it would really play any role, I just wanted to try it, but since I couldn't find the water polo at this moment, Uchiha Madara felt that he had to have other plans.
There is no need to waste time here, and I don't want to continue here. Duo 5 chose to walk for half an hour, without any breakthrough and no development. He didn't want to continue to waste like this any longer, and he had to think about another locomotive to solve the case properly when he had the time. After all, these criminals in the detention center are also very wronged, even though they have committed heinous crimes. But they can't just die like this. This Senju Hashirama is really like 3 people. This kind of thing has never happened before, so Uchiha Madara wants to compete with this Uchiha Madara. What kind of character has 3 heads and 6 arms, so powerful? Since you can control the things in the prison, you can instantly eliminate the prisoners in the prison. Moreover, the number of prisoners in the prison is decreasing little by little and dying little by little, which is really appalling. And the way they died looked particularly terrifying, making people shudder to watch. So Uchiha Madara had a plan in mind after hearing about the case. But at that time, he hadn't graduated yet, he hadn't gotten the Hero's license, and he had to stay in the Hero's academy every day, constantly learning and training. Accept all kinds of professional knowledge, as well as physical exercise, and let your brain reach the limit every day, so that you can make your thinking very sharp. Uchiha Madara also knows that since he came to the Hero's academy, he has received the most brutal training. Advertisement, but such cruel training, Uchiha Madara knew that he could accept and endure it, and never cried out a word of bitterness. I feel like I was born for the Hero's academy. After all, I suddenly crossed over to this Hero's academy. Becoming the most powerful ninja is also a test for yourself, a kind of exercise for yourself. Uchiha Madara still enjoys this feeling, so Uchiha Madara finally got the Hero's license through hard training during this period of time. He was very happy, but he hadn't told his companions about such a thing, but he knew it was too late. I'm in a hurry today, I'm afraid my classmates will have a lot of discussions. But Uchiha Madara knew that this was not the time to think about these issues, and he didn't expect to think of this worry in his heart, and it was finally confirmed. And All Might finally found himself on his head and wanted to solve the case with him. Moreover, when I saw the director of the Tushin division in the investigation department just now, I was a little angry. This guy didn't take himself seriously at all, and he didn't even look at himself. So Uchiha Madara was a little angry, but she would not care about such a thing, because Uchiha Madara would never care about such a thing. I also don't take such a thing to heart, I don't think it's necessary, I might as well use this experience to solve a case. I did this for the sake of justice and to give these unjustly dead souls a rest. He will also care about so much with the Chief Toda secretary, and Uchiha Madara also knows that he has suddenly come to this era. When I came to the game I was playing, since I became a ninja in the animation, I had to accept all the facts and the things in front of me. He is a benevolent person who is full of justice with positive energy, and he has a strong sense of justice and a powerful system that can overcome all the difficulties in front of him. And since I have become such an identity, I have become Uchiha Madara, I must accept this identity well. I think all of this is still very good, and it is also very interesting. It brings a sense of curiosity to myself and makes myself particularly cool. This feeling has never been experienced before, so Uchiha Madara is enjoying this feeling very much now, and is also very curious about how it all happened. Why he suddenly crossed over to this Hero's academy is still unclear. But Uchiha Madara now knows that it is not for the time being, it is these problems, and slowly he is revealing that everything is natural and fixed, and he now has a powerful system in his body. You can do whatever you want, but you can't be too arrogant. Slowly, the system has not yet reached the highest level. Not necessarily everything can achieve his satisfaction. At this moment, Uchiha Madara thought of these things and never spoke. Advertisement. I don't know what happened today, why he is so stubborn, but at this moment he just doesn't want to talk. Seeing All Might a little angry, this guy is just wasting his time. Since he has promised him to solve the case, how can he be afraid? How can he quit? Why did this guy say such a thing? Uchiha Madara couldn't understand, and his face was full of angry eyes at this moment. Still didn't quell the anger in his heart, he kept staring at All Might, his eyes were round, and he looked chilling. All Might has been standing not far away watching Uchiha Madara's move, feeling that this little guy is a little angry at this moment, but he has not calmed down the resentment in his heart. I don't know what happened to him, why is he so angry? Didn't he lead him to look for a water polo? Why did he look like this? So All Might saw that Uchiha Madara didn't speak, and walked slowly to his side and put his arms around his shoulders. Looking at his expression, he couldn't help laughing, thinking that this little guy was so funny when he was angry. I said, little guy, it's the end, do you really want to quit? Do you really want to quit? You don't want to investigate the case with me? 627, do you? Let's be honest, why don't you stay here and leave? If you really think so, I won't blame you. At this moment, All Might put his arms around Uchiha Madara's shoulder and looked at this little guy. He was really handsome. Even the angry look is so charming. This guy suddenly came to the Hero's academy, and All Might doesn't know why. I don't know where this guy came from, but I think he is very pleasing to the eye and very witty, so I want to get in touch with him a lot. I especially appreciate his tenacity and fighting spirit, but sometimes All Might knows that Uchiha Madara is stubborn. But since he appreciates his quirks, he must accept his shortcomings. Because let everyone know that everyone has their own shortcomings and strengths. Uchiha Madara is capable of such intelligence. And it looks very powerful. The energy in the body is increasing a little bit, so he must have his own shortcomings. At this moment, his stubbornness, such anger, may be the time to show his quirks. All Might knew that he couldn't care about him at this moment, and he didn't know if he thought that. If so, wouldn't it be too bad? Is this plan really going to be cancelled? At this moment, All Might thought of this with doubts in his eyes. But with such a confident expression on his face, he said to Uchiha Madara. After all, everyone has their own aspirations. This is your right to choose. I can't force you, and I can't force my thoughts on your head. Chapter 146 Outstanding Advertisement Chapter 146 Outstanding. After All Might said this, he kept his arms around Uchiha Madara's shoulders, watching his every move. At this moment, I feel that this stinky boy's expression is still as angry as before, and I don't know what happened to this little guy. Where did he get such a big temper? At this moment, then said to Uchiha Madara. If what I guess is true, then let's go back. You don't have to be so entangled. I feel uncomfortable seeing your angry expression. Why not? Why don't you go back to the hero's academy to continue training? After all Might has been in contact with Uchiha Madara for so long, and he has never seen the little guy appear in such a state, and he has no idea what he is, why he was fine just now, and suddenly stopped when he was walking. Moreover, All Might was still walking in front of him, not knowing what was going on, but suddenly turned around and found that Uchiha Madara had been standing still and didn't move. At this moment, All Might felt a little confused and didn't know what to do, and felt that he had said so much. But Uchiha Madara didn't respond or reply. All Might felt even more helpless, and there was no way he could take the Uchiha Madara in front of him at this moment like today. Because he knew that he was very powerful, he had powerful energy, and his IQ was particularly high. Being able to get the hero's license in such a short period of time is also very good, and it is also very outstanding. Not ordinary people have this ability. Therefore, All Might particularly appreciates Uchiha Madara's actions and his courage, and knows that he will be a good material in the future. In this hero's academy, people like Uchiha Madara are really rare, and there are very few people who can have such courage. It is not easy to have so many breakthroughs. Because All Might has been at the hero's academy for so long, he has never seen someone as full of energy as Uchiha Madara. Moreover, his quick thinking and reaction are very sharp. This is a case-handling material, so at this moment, he chooses to let Uchiha Madara follow him to solve the case. All Might wanted to discuss with Uchiha Madara the key to all the detection of the Shao organization, but at this moment All Might felt a little helpless. I wonder if Uchiha Madara was ready to back down as he said. If this is the case, All Might really has no choice. After all Might can't force others, nor can he force Uchiha Madara. Because he knows that he can't do it. If Uchiha Madara really wants to quit, he has no ability. All Might knows him better and knows that he is very stubborn, has his own opinions, and has his own quirks. Advertisement. If once he decides something, anyone changes his mind and cannot decide his mind, so All Might knows this deeply in his heart. At this moment, although there was always a smile on his face, he was a little worried and a little scared. After all, this kind of thing was not what All Might wanted to happen, nor what he wanted. He had planned all the plans very well, but he didn't expect the sudden change in the middle. All Might sighed deeply in his heart now, which really fulfilled that sentence. There is really nothing wrong with the plan changing quickly. This truth is really very useful. At this moment, I was a little panicked. If this plan still has this big case, it would be really difficult to lose the elite ninja Uchiha Madara. So now All Might really doesn't want to let his plan go to waste. If Uchiha Madara decides to quit at this moment, he will continue to investigate this case when he really has no ability. Because he has persisted for a while, without any breakthrough or clue. At this moment, I finally had no choice but to think about involving Uchiha Madara in this case. Only in this way can there be hope, can there be such a possibility, can bring a little comfort and a little justice to those lost principles, so that their souls can rest in peace. Therefore, All Might also thought about it again and again, and made a decision after considering it for a long time. Today, he finally spoke to Uchiha Madara about this matter. But what happened at the hero's academy today was beyond All Might's expectations. I didn't expect Uchiha Madara to agree so readily. Therefore, he was very happy and excited. He felt that after Uchiha Madara was involved in this case, he had a confidence and a fighting spirit, and he felt that he would not be as elusive as before. Because All Might is also superb in solving cases, and his thinking is very quick, but when he suddenly encountered such a strong opponent as Senju Hashirama, he did ignore it for some time. I was thinking of finding a young elite and a powerful person to join in, so that I can solve this case together with myself and make a breakthrough. This is what All Might considers. So at this moment, seeing Uchiha Madara standing still and not leaving, and not answering what he said, All Might was really uneasy in his heart, because he was very worried in his heart. I don't want Uchiha Madara to quit like this, I'm just so scared. Because All Might doesn't know why Uchiha Madara suddenly changed her attitude. Why did she stop moving forward? Just when it was clear that he was going to look for water polo, All Might decided to lead Uchiha Madara to look for water polo. But while walking, Uchiha Madara suddenly stopped. All Might really didn't know what was going on. Advertisement. At this moment, I kept muttering in my heart, not knowing what to do. What should I say so that the wise young man in front of me can participate in this case with me and not back down? This is the only hope for solving this case. Because All Might knows that there are really not many powerful people like Uchiha Madara in Hero's Academy, it is impossible for those few people to get into All Might's eyes. So he thought about it, and then he focused on Uchiha Madara, thinking that he really has a bright future. And the IQ is particularly high, and there will be breakthroughs in the future, and he will definitely become a powerful ninja in the entire Hero's Academy. At this moment, Uchiha Madara was even more angry after hearing All Might's words, thinking that this damn guy doesn't know his mind. Why is he so stupid, and he doesn't know why he is angry? How could he back off? Is he such a cowardly person? How could he be such a coward? It's really incredible. Uchiha Madara knows that as long as this is what he promised, he has never quit or gave up halfway, and he is not such a person at all. As long as it is what he believes in, he will stick to it to the end, and he will not give up no matter how many difficulties and obstacles he encounters. This is his principle of being a man in his own style, because he knows that since he came to this hero's school, Wangzhou Academy, and traveled here, he has become different.
And with a powerful energy and a powerful system all over his body, he can succeed in anything he does, so what is there to be afraid of?
Faced with this difficult case, Uchiha Madara felt that it didn't matter. It was really easy to solve these cases, and there was no difficulty at all. For the time being, you need to think about it slowly, and you will always think of a solution. Uchiha Madara thought of this, did not speak, his expression was still the same, angry, pouting like a childish child. Like a small baby, with tender anger on his face, he looked like he couldn't help but want to laugh. Although Uchiha Madara said that he did not speak on the face, he muttered to himself in his heart. Backquote. You idiot, don't even know why you're angry, and you deserve to be a neon hero. I really don't know what you were supposed to be in the first place. You were just underestimating me when you say that. I don't want to talk to you. How can I go back on what I promised? It's really incredible. How can you think of me like that? Chapter 147 Arrogance Advertisement. Chapter 147 Arrogance. After Uchiha Madara said this in her heart at this moment, the expression on her face was still that serious, her eyes were pouted and her mouth was pouted, just like an angry child who couldn't be coaxed well. Uchiha Madara feels that sometimes when he gets angry, he is very stubborn, and it will be sunny only after his anger is gone. Otherwise, the anger in his heart could not be eliminated. At this moment, Uchiha Madara felt like he was ill, and he didn't know when he became so irritable. Sometimes suddenly there is a dual personality, and sometimes it becomes very gentle, just like at this moment, I have become a quirks like Uchiha Madara again. This state has never been seen before, but now Uchiha Madara thinks it looks pretty good. Why should I become so gentle and cowardly? It is normal for me to have quirks and temper. With my own ability and my current hero's license, I can do anything successfully, and I have the qualification to play a big name. Because Uchiha Madara knows that he has enough pride and enough confidence to play his role in front of All Might. Because he knew that All Might in front of him had no choice but to find himself out of desperation and wanted to participate in this case by himself. Originally, Uchiha Madara was not so angry. I don't know what was wrong just now, but I suddenly wanted to be so angry, and I walked and walked without seeing a little progress. 627. When I didn't see the water polo, I suddenly felt a surge of anger in my heart, and I stayed there. Uchiha Madara didn't know how to explain all this, or why. Maybe it was because he was a little angry when he saw this panda director when he was in the case office just now. So at this moment, there will be such a performance in my heart. Originally, when he was handling the case, the director of Panda saw Uchiha Madara with a dismissive expression. After seeing it, Uchiha Madara didn't care, and he didn't care. Because he felt that there was no need to care about the director of the Panda. Although this guy didn't seem to be very good, he still had a little ability. So after Uchiha Madara figured it out, he didn't want to worry too much, and he didn't need to be too serious with the director of the Panda. At that moment, Uchiha Madara was not angry. But when he was walking just now, his anger suddenly came up, and he thought of Director Panda. Since he looked down on him, why should he be careful about this case? Because Uchiha Madara knew that this case was handled by the Director Panda. If the Director Panda could not be solved, he would have a certain responsibility, and his official position would probably be taken down. Advertisement. Since this is the case, the director of the Panda is still so arrogant. He obviously does not have the ability to handle the case, and he has not made any progress so far. Since he has participated in it, since he has taken it personally, AFDG, he will not take it seriously. Because Uchiha Madara knows that this case has nothing to do with it, and it has nothing to do with it. Since he wants to participate in this case, it is entirely because of his own curiosity. It's because of my own abilities that I want to break through myself, and it's also for All Might. Since All Might is begging for him, Uchiha Madara feels that he still has to do his bit. I did this only to do justice for those dead souls, otherwise I would not have the heart to deal with this mess at all. When I have this time, I might as well relax with my girlfriend and play cards with my friends.
If you have the opportunity to discuss the training experience in the future life, you will also say why he has to eat enough to support himself.
Uchiha Madara also knew that he suddenly left Hero's Academy. Yaoyorozu Momo and the others knew that they would be in a hurry in the future, and they didn't know where they went. Because Uchiha Madara didn't know if anyone saw him or not when he left, and was afraid that Yaoyorozu Momo would be worried if he didn't have an answer after asking. At this moment, I felt that if I didn't find the water polo, it would be better to return to Hero's Academy for a while, so that Yaoyorozu Momo could not worry about it, and I could chat with them about their studies. Because at this moment Uchiha Madara didn't want to be in vain, and didn't want to make unnecessary sacrifices, feeling that there was no need for this, and there was nothing to gain after walking for a long time. So I just want to find the demand. If I can't find it, then think of another way. There is no need to waste time and energy. This is why Uchiha Madara is really angry, otherwise how could he be so angry? I also felt that All Might was deliberately playing tricks on him. If he had said earlier that it would take more than half an hour to find this water polo, Uchiha Madara would not have done it and would have gone home long ago. Because there will be another plan to solve the case, there is no need to look for water polo, because Uchiha Madara doesn't want to spend too much time walking and wasting useless things. It was a whim to find the water polo at this moment, and it was a sudden idea that I said so. If the water polo was not found at this moment, Uchiha Madara knew that there was no need to try it. It's just that I suddenly had an idea just now, and at this moment Uchiha Madara felt that his mind was in chaos.
After hearing All Might speak, I was even more angry, and at this moment, he kept his lips tightly closed and did not speak.
Advertisement Uchiha Madara also knew that he felt a little grumpy after crossing into this hero's academy. Sometimes I get angry because of the little things, and I get very angry. I don't know why. What is going on? I used to have a very docile personality, very kind, and I wouldn't lose my temper for no reason, and I don't know what it was just now. Is it because of Director Panda's eyes and his attitude? He was so angry. And just now, All Might has been letting himself walk all the time, and he hasn't gained anything yet. It's just a waste of his time. So this series of things added up to make Uchiha Madara very angry at this moment. Although Uchiha Madara's face is very angry now, he doesn't seem to be so angry in his heart, he just said it on the surface. He didn't know why he seemed to have more performances now. Obviously he wasn't so angry in his heart. But at this moment, he suddenly stood up and stopped. The expression on his face was still the same atmosphere, still the same angry.
Uchiha Madara sometimes thinks that he is ridiculous. At this moment, he is thinking about this question in his heart, and he thinks that he is making trouble there unreasonably. When everything is fine, why should he be angry?
Maybe All Might did this because he wanted to lead himself to find the water polo. The water polo might be a little far away, so he made himself go some wrong ways. All Might put his arms around Uchiha Madara's shoulders at this moment and knew that this guy was stubborn, standing in place at this moment without any reaction. He didn't mean to go home, he felt more at ease, and he was no longer as worried as before. Looking at Uchiha Madara's expression at this moment, I really want to laugh at everything. This guy is still so handsome and charming like this. What happened? And I don't know what happened. All Might was very confused. But I felt that Uchiha Madara didn't seem to want to back down, so I felt relieved, and said to him again at this moment. I said, the little guy is really angry. What about you? Is there anything you want to tell me? What is the reason for you to be so angry? Did I do something wrong just now? Or did I say something wrong? But I don't think I said anything. Didn't you just say that you want to look for water polo? Why don't I lead you to look for it? Why did you suddenly stop when you were walking? After All Might said this, he kept a smile on his face and kept observing Uchiha Madara's every move. I feel that this guy's face is still so serious, and I don't know what happened to this little guy. Chapter 148 Advertisement Chapter 148 At this moment, All Might really doesn't know why he is so angry today. What is the reason for him to be in this state? After all Might has never seen Uchiha Madara before, so angry like today. This little guy is usually approachable, and there is no such expression. What is the reason for this moment? All Might didn't figure it out. He was a little inexplicable. At this moment, looking at Uchiha Madara's expression, he said to him. If you really have something unpleasant in your heart, just tell me. Let's solve it together. You don't need to be so angry. Why are you so angry at such a young age? All Might has never been so helpless after saying these words, feeling like he has nothing to do. Why is this little guy so stubborn in front of him? What happened to him to be so stubborn? He has been standing here, and he doesn't go away with himself. Do you really want to give up this plan and give up solving this case with yourself? Everyone thinks it's incredible. If that's the case, isn't it bad for private companies? Isn't his plan in vain and it's all going to waste? All Might really doesn't want this to happen, and doesn't want his guess to become a reality. At this moment, he has been holding Uchiha Madara's shoulders after saying these words, hoping to make him happy, to make him happier, and to know what he is thinking. Why is he so angry? But All Might feels like he can't do anything at this moment. After saying these words, Uchiha Madara didn't react, and his expression was still so angry. He really didn't know what happened to him, so he had such an expression. All Might was so anxious that he wanted to get into Uchiha Madara's belly to see what he was thinking about and why he became so angry and so angry. As a neon hero, All Might has never encountered such a situation, nor has he encountered such an embarrassment. At this moment, he felt like a child, without any ability or thought, and also felt that his thoughts were being controlled by Uchiha Madara. The young man looked so unhappy, and All Might became depressed, but at this moment, All Might had to have a smile on his face, and he had to be stronger. Otherwise, if it really angers this Uchiha Madara thing is really out of control, All Might doesn't want such a thing to happen. Because in All Might's heart, Uchiha Madara is just a child, and he doesn't treat him as an adult. He also thinks that he is a very strong child and a strong ninja. Advertisement, and he is a very powerful character, so All Might just wants to make him happy at this moment. Let him speak his mind and let him open his heart. Don't confine yourself so much, just say anything if you have something to say, and bring it up directly if you are unhappy, and you can correct it yourself. All Might doesn't think it's a big deal. I just hope that Uchiha Madara will be happy in the future after listening to his words, and stop being so entangled and angry. Besides, All Might thinks that he has done nothing wrong. The two of them were going well just now, but they just want to touch the case. After all, wanting other Uchiha Madara is not so easy, nor can it be done overnight. Because All Might knows that this case has been going on for more than half a year, and it has been dragged on until now, without any progress or breakthrough. all the people are exhausted, and they have no ability. This case is also very difficult for the investigators, and it is already even more difficult. They feel that their abilities are limited, and they feel that it is difficult to solve this case, and there is no countermeasure. So they had to give up. In this way, they found All Might. All Might is a neon hero. It is impossible to watch all this and ignore it. So he was ready to take on the role, and All Might set their sights on Uchiha Madara.
Through continuous observation and pondering during this period of time, I felt that Uchiha Madara was indeed a good material for solving the case, so I told him what I was thinking today, and I felt that I got his consent.
All Might's heart is very happy, because he knows that with his help, this case will have a breakthrough, and there will be more progress. Originally, when All Might was walking forward in high spirits, when he was looking for water polo for Uchiha Madara, he suddenly felt that this stinky boy didn't answer what he said. As soon as I looked back, it became the current situation, so now All Might is really helpless, feeling powerless to face such a young guy. There is no way to do anything. After all, this little guy is very stubborn, and also has quirks, and All Might knows him well. You also have to know that Uchiha Madara usually has her own opinions and thoughts. She will not be like other students who have no thoughts and opinions. All Might took a fancy to Uchiha Madara and decided to invite him to solve this case with him, and knew that Uchiha Madara would be interested. Just put such a heavy task on Uchiha Madara's shoulders to share with him, but at this moment All Might felt that he had done something wrong. Advertisement, or he thought about things too shallowly, and didn't really consider Uchiha Madara's feelings, nor what kind of ability he has. It's just based on his own observations and guesses about him. Do you think it's too hasty at this moment? But All Might feels that he has no regrets about these things he said. Only with the attitude of giving it a try can we succeed. Anyway, this case has become a headless koan. Rather than that, it's better to leave it in your own hands and fight with Uchiha Madara to see if there is a breakthrough. After Uchiha Madara heard All Might's words at this moment, he did not move forward and did not reply to All Might. He just stayed where he was and didn't respond, letting All Might pat him on the shoulder and put his arm around his shoulder.
Point 0. Uchiha Madara still didn't move or respond. At this moment, he was thinking about a lot of things in his heart, thinking about his friends, and thinking that the case was indeed a bit tricky.
It seems that there is some mistake in looking for the water polo by himself, but now he can only take one step at a time. But Uchiha Madara felt that this case was also a bit tricky, and it was indeed a bit unusual. No wonder even the director of the investigation department's Tushin division had given up. Now that he has found his head, the head of the chief of Earth Fields is still like this, and the arrogant Uchiha Madara is also a little angry. It was obvious that he didn't care so much just now, but at this moment, he was a little angry when he thought of the face of the head of the Tushin secretary, but Uchiha Madara knew that he didn't need to care so much, it was worthless. Now that I have agreed to solve this case with All Might, why should I care about these little details, and why should I care about the faces of these investigators? Although Uchiha Madara didn't answer what All Might said at this moment, he just stood there and kept mumbling in his heart. It's really strange, since I can put my hand in the detention center and kill these criminals invisibly. 99. It seems that this Senju Hashirama is still really pervert. As a ninja, it is really inauthentic. The means are really cruel, and the means are so despicable. This damn it guy, don't let me catch you. If I find any clues about you, I won't let you go, let you never have a good life, let you die in my hands. Uchiha Madara muttered to herself in her heart at this moment, but her teeth were itching with anger, and her expression became even more angry at this moment. And biting his lips tightly, his eyes were wide open, and he looked like he was desperately trying to fight with others. He was indeed a little helpless in his heart, and he was full of atmosphere. Chapter 149 Going to Heaven Defying Advertisement. Chapter 149 Going to Heaven Defying. Uchiha Madara thinks that Senju Hashirama's methods are really outrageous. These prisoners in the detention center have been punished and have been taught the lesson they deserve. Why is this damn it guy sticking his hands in jail? Why would he do this? Does he want to destroy the order of this society? Want to do it heaven defying? Uchiha Madara can't imagine how cruel this guy is when he thinks about it. If he thinks he is, this guy wants to do it heaven defying. Then things are really out of order. I'm afraid Senju Hashirama's claws will reach farther, not the criminals who have died in these detention centers, and there will be more and more. Uchiha Madara stood where he was, and the more he thought about it, the more angry he became. When he thought about Senju Hashirama's methods and the organization's methods, it was really cruel. How can it be so outrageous? Why do they have to stretch their hands so far, and there are so many bad guys waiting for them to get rid of them? Why did they, 630, stretch their claws into the detention center? Why is this? What kind of plan does Senju Hashirama have, and how big is the conspiracy behind it? Uchiha Madara has to think about it now, has to think things too badly. Because Uchiha Madara will not allow himself to fight an uncertain battle, he must think about things ahead and plan ahead in advance, so that he can win every battle. Uchiha Madara is such a quirks. Since he is involved in this case, he must win it successfully, be invincible and invincible. This is his principle of life. So I can think about Uchiha Madara, and I feel very angry when I think about it. I was also very angry when I was walking just now. Obviously there can be a shortcut, but Uchiha Madara thinks that All Might is making fun of the circle. Does he really want to solve this case? Since there is no water polo near this place, then give it up. Why go so far? Uchiha Madara knew that he would not do it if he had said it in advance. I will not waste this time, and I will think of other countermeasures. I will have many ideas in my mind, and it is impossible to solve this case by relying solely on this aspect. Because Uchiha Madara knew that this case was not so good, it could be solved, and he just had a whim and made this decision just now. At this moment, if there is really no water polo nearby, then give up, and there is no need to be so stubborn. So Uchiha Madara is a little angry. How can All Might be so naive as a neon hero? Can't even understand such a thing? How did he get this title? As a neon hero, Uchiha Madara felt incredible, and at this moment, he doubted All Might's ability. Advertisement. So now Uchiha Madara seems to have some regrets, and I don't know if I can earn this case with All Might. Whether this guy has this ability. Uchiha Madara is really starting to have doubts now, and he also feels that he has some of his own All Might ability. Does this guy have the kind of courage others say? When he was just a hero, Academy, Uchiha Madara suddenly thought of what All Might said, and he had to teach himself some skills.
Uchiha Madara secretly smiled when she thought of this at this moment, thinking it was really a joke. With her own ability and her powerful system, do you still need All Might to teach him?
So Uchiha Madara thought it was weird, and after thinking about it, a weird smile appeared on his face. But his eyes were still so angry, people couldn't see his mind, and couldn't understand his thoughts. After All Might said these words, he kept looking at Uchiha Madara's expression and felt that this stinky boy seemed to be particularly tangled at this moment. And the eyes are rolling around. It seems that a lot of thoughts are coming up and thinking about a lot of things, so All Might sees Uchiha Madara like this. I was also a little scared in my heart, and some were really scared. Uchiha Madara had too many thoughts, which might ruin the plan and wouldn't investigate this case with me. All Might was really afraid that this kind of thing happened and felt very helpless at this moment, and felt that Uchiha Madara didn't react after saying this. And the expression seems to be even more angry than before. Why is this? All Might really can't understand, and he doesn't know what he can do at this moment. How can I make this young man happy and let him go with me to investigate the case? Is this young man really going to give up? Or go home? Really want to go back to Hero's Academy? All Might knows that he has been in this Hero's Academy for so long, and he has seen a lot of students, but he has never seen a stubborn student like Uchiha Madara.
Moreover, it seems that his thoughts are particularly assertive and stubborn, and it is not the ordinary person who can control his thoughts.
Therefore, All Might felt that he was not mistaken. The young man in front of him was really different, and he exuded a powerful ability. The reason why he was so angry must have his thoughts and his own opinions, otherwise he would not be able to stand in place at this moment without any reaction. At this moment, All Might was even more determined in his heart, that he was right, that he did not seek people's ideas, that his ideal goal was to be the best player to solve the case by himself. At this moment, All Might felt very happy when he thought of this. No matter what happened to Uchiha Madara, he did not give up in his heart. Advertisement. Although he is angry now, he doesn't know what he is thinking, once the doubts in his heart are lifted. Uchiha Madara won't be so angry, and won't be so entangled. When he came to this moment and thought of this, he said to Uchiha Madara again with a smile on his face. Little guy, what do you think? If you have something to say, just say it. Let's solve it together. Why are you so angry? Since I've been standing here, I still don't want to go back. There's something I'm not satisfied with, right? I've known you since you came to this Hero's Academy, so why are you so strict with me? All Might really hope that Uchiha Madara can open up and talk to himself. What is on his mind? Why is he so angry, and what makes him so unhappy? All Might wants to know. So after All Might said these words, his eyes were full of sincerity, and he kept looking at Uchiha Madara with a kind smile on his face. Feeling like coaxing his own child at this moment, he is willing to do all this, because he thinks Uchiha Madara is really powerful and especially talented. You need to curry favor with him and coax him to be able to use his residual heat, otherwise Uchiha Madara might just let it go in a fit of rage. All Might didn't want such a thing to happen at this moment, and after saying this, he felt a little better in his heart. In any case, at least express his sincerity so that Uchiha Madara can feel better when he hears it. I don't know what this stinky boy is. What is there to be angry about? Why doesn't he speak? Is he really so stubborn? I don't say a word when I get angry. I feel like a cow. All Might doesn't know what to do with 3.6, but Uchiha Madara is very stamina and patient. Seeing that he was unhappy, he felt sad, just wanted to make him happy, even at this moment he wouldn't quit the task of solving the case with himself. All Might thought it was nothing. As long as he is happy, it is more important than anything else, so at this moment, All Might is speaking the truth, and he feels that the Uchiha Madara in front of him really seems to have a lot of thoughts in his mind. Because his thoughts are too active, he is so angry as before, that is, he thinks too much and his thoughts are too sensitive. If he was stupid, he wouldn't be standing here stubbornly like he is now. Since you are so angry, tell me what you think. I want to hear your opinion. You can say what you think or what you are dissatisfied with me. Why do you make yourself so angry? Do you think it makes any sense? Chapter 150 Unbearable Advertisement. Chapter 150 Unbearable. Uchiha Madara was even more angry after hearing All Might's words while standing there. Do you think that is a neon hero? How can he be so naive? How can he be so simple, and can't even guess his own mind? Why doesn't he understand why he is angry? It's a waste of time to be here and there, and he still wants to solve this big case, so Uchiha Madara thought of such a thing. It was hard to calm down when he was angry in his heart. At this moment, let All Might say what he said, let All Might coax him, and he couldn't be happy. Because Uchiha Madara is such a quirks, especially stubborn in this Hero's Academy, he is used to this state. So now it suddenly changed him, he couldn't do it, no matter what happened. Uchiha Madara felt that the current situation could not be solved at all. It's just an attempt, Uchiha Madara didn't take it too seriously, because now he has a better plan in his mind, what he wants to do with this case. It's not so simple. This case is particularly huge for them, because it has been more than half a year, and there is still no progress in this case, not even a little clue. So how could Uchiha Madara not be in a hurry in his heart, and did not expect All Might to find his head at this moment? Let yourself solve this case with him. Since there is this opportunity, then I want to give it a go and train myself well. Uchiha Madara also knows that he has been exercising in the Hero's Academy for a long time, and he is trained every day, which is very cruel and very simple. But he never gave up, nor did he feel bitter, because now that he has crossed into this Hero's Academy, he has become very powerful as a ninja. Suddenly crossing into this game, how could it be possible to give up like this? This animation looks quite ordinary, but it is quite difficult to do. It's not as simple as what I usually watch on TV, so at this moment Uchiha Madara thinks of this and is even more angry.
There are always some big cases in this animation, which seem to be some shocking cases, so Uchiha Madara feels that he must study more and work harder.
Only then can he solve these difficult cases in front of him. At this moment, he suddenly thinks of what All Might said, but he still has no reaction in the future. I think All Might is really naive. As a neon hero, it's not as good as me since I'm watching my words. However, Uchiha Madara still feels very happy when she thinks of this, having All Might by her side to make her happy, and even caring about her emotions when she is unhappy. Advertisement. So Uchiha Madara felt flattered in his heart, but at this moment he couldn't be happy if he wanted to be happy. I don't know why, but at this moment, my temper has become so irritable. Originally, Uchiha Madara didn't want to say that, but when I was walking just now, I suddenly felt very bad and very depressed.
I just stood there and didn't want to go, because I thought this place was a little weird, so Uchiha Madara felt that this place didn't have what he was looking for at all.
I also feel that I don't want to continue to spend here. Instead of continuing to look for water polo, there is no gain. It's better to just stand here and not go. It's better to think about this kind of thinking. Why waste all this energy? Although Uchiha Madara thought so in his heart, he didn't mean to look down on All Might, and knew that he was quite famous.
And his deeds. Uchiha Madara knew about it before, but after all, Uchiha Madara didn't travel to this Hero's Academy at that time, and he didn't know how everything was like here.
Uchiha Madara has seen all this in the cartoon before, and I know that All Might's reputation is still very big and very loud. And the cases he solved never ended without a problem, so Uchiha Madara still believed in this very much, and felt that all this was still certain. But why did I feel completely different after I suddenly traveled through this material and came into contact with All Might? It's not very similar to what I saw in the cartoons. Is it still too much change? Is it to induce the audience? So Uchiha Madara thinks it's ridiculous when he thinks about it. It turns out that all things can only be understood after personal experience. It's really strange that Uchiha Madara suddenly traveled to this Hero's Academy, and he didn't expect that he would become a character like a cartoon. He is still one of the most powerful top-level characters, a powerful ninja, so Uchiha Madara's face is incredible, but it all happened, and I have to believe it myself. Thinking of this at this moment, although he was very happy in his heart, he also felt incredible, and he also felt that all this turned out to be so wonderful. But the expression on his face was still that angry, because at this moment he was really tangled, and he felt that he shouldn't waste so much time. At this moment, he just wanted to think about what he should do, make his thinking clearer and not be so messy. I don't want All Might to mislead myself. Although he is very powerful in the cartoon, Uchiha Madara also knows that it is just the cartoon he watched. Now it has become a reality that I have truly traveled through this cartoon, so I can only develop according to some of the reality. Advertisement. It was impossible to develop the scenes that he had seen in the cartoons before, so Uchiha Madara knew what was going on. Thinking of this at this moment, there is anger in his eyes, one eye is looking forward, and he does not look at All Might beside him. Uchiha Madara has been thinking about these questions at this moment, thinking that All Might really overestimated him. He didn't know what he was thinking. How could he quit? How could it be possible to give up halfway, let alone go to this case is not enough, but now I am a little angry. So at this moment Uchiha Madara felt that what All Might said didn't understand his mind at all, and he was even more angry and didn't want to talk to him. At this moment, he was standing in the middle of the street, without any reaction, neither turning around nor leaving. Because Uchiha Madara knew that he was so stubborn that no one could change his mind. Even if Yaoyorozu Momo came, he could not change his decision, although Uchiha Madara regarded Yaoyorozu Momo as very important. I also think this girl 630 is very good, but no one can decide what is in Uchiha Madara's mind. Thinking of this at this moment, Uchiha Madara thinks that All Might is really a little dull. Is it because he is too old? How could he be so stupid? He didn't even know what he was thinking. How did he become such a powerful hero? Who sealed him? My god, how did you become a neon hero? Even my mind can't guess. Are you still a ninja, or a neon hero? In this case, I really misread you. I feel that Uchiha Madara thinks it's impossible. All Might is only 5 or 6 years older than himself. It seems that he is not more than 10 years old. How can he be stupid? It's not the same as what I've seen in TV dramas before, Uchiha Madara murmured inwardly. As a powerful neon hero, how could he be so decayed? How could he be so weak? It is really unbearable. God, why did you let me travel to this Hero's Academy and let me meet these characters, but I became the most powerful ninja? This is not what I hoped to do. Because Uchiha Madara feels that in his mind, All Might is a powerful ninja. After Uchiha Madara said these words in her heart at this moment, she felt very helpless, with anger and confusion in her eyes, not knowing what to do, how to solve all this. Are you going to stand here and never go? How should you deal with All Might? Can this guy guess his own thoughts?